We're back, Jimbo.
Dude, we're back. Pipe Dreams Podcast. We're
I feel
here.
like every time we do one, we say we're back.
Yeah, but we are, though. We've had
There's always a hiatus.
big hiatus. Everybody knows that we run a pretty loose program around here. But we got BK in the back here. We're in beautiful, sunny, crazy. It's sunny Elkhart Lake. As you can see, the ambience in the background is beautiful. It's been an amazing time so far. We both got sunburned. Yeah, but we've got an amazing guest here, and I'm super stoked to introduce him. Somebody that I've raced against pretty much my whole career. Been rivals with him, hated each other for a couple of years. This guy's won 3 championships that I know, USGPRU championship, a Supersport championship against me, and a Superstock championship.
Yeah, against me.
Yeah, so from Princeton, Kentucky, this guy's got 17 wins, is the rumor.
Quote unquote.
Jake the Snake Lewis.
One of the OWB boys, too, I guess, kind of, right? Like honorary.
Oh, yeah. I'm pumped to be on the pod, honestly. I always put it on driving to the races, and it passes if a couple hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, however long you guys get people to talk. But pumped to be on, yeah, for sure.
I love it. So, Jake, we're out here at Elkhart Lake. You know, give people, what are we doing?
We're hanging out, feeling all the vibes before the MotoAmerica race weekend. Over the past few years, we've actually rekindled our relationship, James, and
rekindled the flame.
I don't think Corey and I ever had any beef. You know, even in 21 when we did Stock 1000, there was no beef, and now all of our girls get along, and it's just a good vibe. You know, we're getting older, we're getting married this year, so
well,
I know.
Well,
Hold on.
Well,
got to make it to
hey,
October.
Nikki.
I know she's downstairs keeping on the DL.
No, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think it was your fiance's birthday. It was my birthday last week, so it worked out nice. I love Elkhart Lake, man. It's so fun being able to be out here, just relax, and it's so quiet still yet because I think it's so early in the season for those guys around here. So we're lucky to be able to just hang out and have the lake to ourselves, more or less.
It's crazy that you can hear the bikes from the Airbnb that we're at, and it's how close we are, but also how away, like in the woods, we are from like that's the traffic. I mean, there's been 2 track days back to back, and you can hear them 9 a.m. They're rolling out.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
I don't know if the people around here love it, but it's pretty sick floating around in the middle of a lake just listening to bikes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
for us, it's
we've
sick.
been coming here for a long time, but I feel like the past few years we've been here, the crowd has gotten unreal. You know, it's Harley's backyard, so baggers did help that, but I feel like MotoAmerica is making a step in the past few years, getting some fans to the track.
I mean, you got 1 million followers on their Instagram alone, and you can see it. I mean, you can see last year they had to open up the second lot, I believe, for the first time for parking, and this year I've heard that the campground is fully sold out. You told me, Corey, that the campground is fully sold out.
Yeah, I mean, it was on Facebook, so you can't believe everything you read down on that thing. But somebody did say that they had to open up like the overflow RV park. I don't know what that really means, but I guess something sold out, so that sounds pretty good. I think, usually we get about 35,000 people over the course of the weekend. I think have been kind of the average number. So I think they're probably there mostly for the baggers, but helps the whole show, which is cool. I love it. I think they're just so stoked because it's cold for so much of the year that like as soon as the sun comes out, I mean, BK back there is from around these parts, so he could probably speak to that.
He's the only one not wearing a sweatshirt.
But I think people are just stoked on life to be able to be not freezing.
Well, I mean, we rolled up here and it was the first day that they opened up the boat rentals.
Yep.
Right. So like we literally are here for the first weekend where this place kind of kicks off and, ice cream shop opens up because it's there. Everything's de-thawed after the winter.
Yeah.
So
we gotta get our sponsors on here.
Get a couple partners, as always.
Thank the partners.
Yeah. Before we jump in here, as always, Law Tigers. There are American Motorcycles lawyers. Motorcycle isn't something you ever expect, but you need to be prepared in a case. If you know somebody ever injured in a motorcycle accident, always call Law Tigers first. The services are at no cost to the riders. They always fight for the riders, taking care of and getting back on the road. With Law Tigers, you never ride alone. Call 1-800 Tigers. And then, as always, we just re-up with UASA Battery, which was a great new partner that we have. You've had a really special partnership with them before, even the podcast. The most trusted battery in power sports since 1979. For 45 years, Yuasa has delivered reliability and passion at every turn. Yuasa supplies power sports batteries to more OEMs and riders than all our competitors combined in the U.S. and globally. The reason is simple: premium quality, unmatched reliability, long life, and advanced engineering with years of application expertise. Yuasa battery, setting the standard for power sport batteries since 1979. Each and every day, it starts with Yuasa.
Visit yuasabatteries.com or visit your local motorcycle or power sports retailer to pick up your Yuasa battery for your vehicle, whether it's a car, bike, ATV, UTV. They make it all, baby.
I'm just going to tell you right now, that's how you get an intro done, guys.
Oh.
That's how you get an intro done. That's got to be our best one yet.
I was wishing I had a Yuasa battery the other day. I was in the frunk of Richie's Turbo S changing out a battery. I went over to AutoZone, bought me a $300 battery, slept it back over, got back in the frunk, was bolt that thing in, go to turn it on, nothing. Brand new battery.
No way.
Brand
That's
new
why you
battery.
need Yuasa, baby.
That's why I was literally like,
Hey,
AutoZone.
a battery cost me a championship in 2014.
No way.
So batteries are important.
They are important.
Did you have a...
It wasn't a Yuasa.
It wasn't.
It was not a Yuasa.
I was
'cause
gonna
that bad
say,
boy,
there's no
she
way.
wouldn't have left you. She wouldn't have left you in that predicament. Should have had a Yuasa.
There you go,
Oh, Jake the
dude.
Snake. So what have you been up to down there in Owensboro? We were lucky enough to come check out your barn dominium. Was that last year? It was, or the year before? I think.
Yeah, last fall. I've been in Owensboro since 2014, summer out of high school. Moved there, lived with Roger for a couple of years, but
Roger Hayden.
Yeah, Roger Hayden. So I graduated high school in 2014 and moved in with Roger Hayden that summer. It was doing Daytona Sportbike, and it was kind of a funny story. After my dad and I never argue, but after Barber, it was one of the hottest races of the year, and I qualified on pole, and then I think I was running third in the first race, and about ass packed someone coming into Charlotte's Web, ran off the track, tipped over, ended up 14th, getting like 2 points for the race. And then, you know how it is after a race weekend, I was so tired, like on Monday, it was Monday after the race weekend. He was outside mowing the lawn. I was chilling on the couch, just hanging out. He comes in all fired up, pissed off, saying, "You think you're going to beat these guys if you're not training?" And it I like to recover and chill out on a Monday, and it just fired me up. So
We've been doing some recovering and chilling out on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
yeah, but back then, it was like intense, like because him and Earl were like really tight. So I had to do something like every day, and I was fighting for the championship back then, and it fired me up. And I'd been going back and forth to Owensboro a little bit throughout like younger age, but
Because you're from Princeton, Kentucky,
yeah, from
which
Princeton,
is
which is like an hour and a half from
Okay.
Owensboro. But I think I either texted or called Roger that afternoon. He was like, "Yeah, come up and stay with me for a week or two." So I did that, and then it ended up just working out for both of us. We fed off each other with training and riding and everything, and then I've been in Owensboro ever since, so the past 11 years. And then now I'm out in the country. I live on just under 13 acres, have a turn track, and love my life there in Owensboro. Honestly, it's a sweet setup.
You ever turn into a Bears fan being over there?
Never, yeah.
No? You didn't follow NFL at all?
No, I started following NFL a couple of years ago, but I didn't care about sports or watch much sports at all. But Blair's family is big into NFL football, and the past couple of years, throwing a little bit of money in FanDuel that just light it up in flames. But I like football and do a little bit of sports betting on it and enjoy watching it. And she's a huge Travis Kelce fan because of Taylor Swift. So I cheered for the Chiefs there.
Swiftie, dude.
Yeah, Swiftie.
So you're a Chiefs fan?
Kind of, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
for T Swift or for
Yeah,
another reason.
I like T Swift too. Yeah, she's turned me into a Swiftie. Yeah.
That's so funny.
How did your dad and the Haydens get on? How did that happen?
Like that's part of the story I wish I knew a little bit more about. I don't know like the complete story of like how they became friends and stuff. But my dad and uncle raced motorcycles growing up, and at one point my dad ran like a West Kentucky flat track series. So I don't know if you've read the book or heard the stories about Earl and the kids, like them putting them on bigger bikes at younger ages and stuff. So my dad ran the series, so he would let Nikki and Roger and Tommy ride bikes that they weren't old enough to ride in that class, and they were just tight, So my dad and Earl were friends ever since I was born, pretty much. And
Oh, wow.
Earl's a huge part of my life since I was 5 years old, and it's crazy. Like, they were best friends. I mean, I don't know about best friends, but they talked on the phone every single day and
Wow.
talked about racing, life, all that kind of stuff.
Oh shit! I didn't know they were that
so-
close.
No, neither did I. But I've always wondered what that connection was because you came up like the Hayden way. I mean, we raced against. I remember I've raced against you my whole life,
Yeah.
and like it was always you were just it seemed like you were considered a Hayden essentially.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know like the full backstory, but my parents bought me my first bike for Christmas when I was 3 years old. I started riding when I was 4 years old.
What was
But
it?
then PW50, of course, yeah. But my dad was a KTM dealer back in the day, so it was a orange PW50, and started on that in a big white beefy helmet that was 2 sizes too big for me. But I was a Hayden. I mean, I wasn't a Hayden. My last name's Lewis, but I was basically treated like a Hayden since I was 5 years old, and always ran the Earl's racing team on the front number plates at amateur nationals, and they gave us a box truck to go to the races in. And I mean, I wouldn't be where I was today without their help and guidance and all of that stuff, for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember you showing up USGPRU, or at least I don't remember if it was in Milwaukee the very first time, but either way, white bike with the Earl's racing team, and you had the Factory Alpine Stars deal already.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember that too. I remember at Hallett Speedway or whatever. That was the first time I think I saw you in Texas. Maybe.
Yeah.
You must have been like
CMRA. I was probably 14 or 15.
something like that, and I was on a 125, and I was like, motherfucker, I just like, dude, this shit looks sick.
Yeah.
It was sick. It was cool, man. It was cool to see.
But the biggest thing was like it wasn't like I didn't have like the best of equipment growing up. That was one of Earl's biggest things that kind of drives me crazy about some like kids and their stuff nowadays. Like, I rode stock bikes until I was on 85s at amateur nationals, because his theory was like, you don't need the best stuff. Like, if you're on stock bikes and have good suspension, you just ride the absolute hell out of it to get better. And like, I remember sometimes on the half miles at amateur nationals, I would be on a slow bike and get beaten. I would come in crying because I was like, I can't run with those guys. But it just made me ride harder and ride better. And I mean, I rode we talked about it a couple of days ago. I rode almost every single day growing up. I grew up on 3.5 acres, but we put a little turn track in at my house, and with my dad and Earl being close, like if he came home from work and my bike wasn't dirty and there wasn't gas burnt, like, pissed off for sure, because that's how the boys were. I mean, Nikki, Tommy, and Roger, they rode at least 3 days a week. And, you've heard stories of Nikki coming home from high school stuff and going riding, but that's how it was for me too. And from the time I was 5 until, I mean, not really now, but from 5 until 18 years old, I rode almost every single day.
What was it a thing like embedded that you were gonna go road racing? Like, I mean, was that obviously just following the pipe of the Haydens? But like, where was the transition as far as because you rode a ton of dirt track, right?
Yeah,
you came up like all the way 450s, like, but you kind of dabbled a little bit in road racing probably a little earlier than I did.
Yeah, so it was a huge thing because I didn't decide until I was 15, actually, if I was going to go dirt track or go road racing, because I did both very well up until that age. And I didn't start road racing until I was 8 years old, which, I mean, sounds really young, but it really wasn't, because I was dirt tracking full time from the time I was 4 till 8. Then I got into road racing big. That's just because Earl kind of saw the pipeline and the funding and, I mean, how much money people were making in road racing at that time. That was his sons came through the prime time to make good money road racing. So I kept competitive in all of them, and I got to the time I was 15 to go after the Horizon Award for road racing and dirt track. But amateur nationals, fell in the same week. So I had to decide, like, what am I going to do? And we listened to everything that Earl told us, my dad and I, because he helped us and funded us and all of that stuff. So I started the week out on amateur nationals actually that year, and I was battling with Briar Ballman and Gillum and all of that. I was the same age as Briar, who's currently leading the Twins points, and could still dirt track good and road race good. And I did the first 2 days, and then I went to the road race amateur nationals at the end of that week.
Do you think that riding so much like burned you out at a certain point? Like you got sick of it?
Oh, 100%. You know, I think about it now. It's like if I would have started maybe instead of at 4, like if I would have started at 10 years old riding, maybe I think it would have been better because like sometimes now, like now I have the love of riding again. But a few years ago, like I just hated it, honestly. Like just riding every single day and we traveled in a van, you know, and chasing the dream for 20 years. I didn't have any other life besides racing. You know, that's all I cared about and wanted to do and fulfill the biggest thing was I like kind of fulfilled my dream by the time I was 19, 20 years old. And
yeah, what else do you have to chase once you get there, right?
Exactly. And then I went through a few life things. I don't want to jump ahead, but you know, when my dad passed away, Earl passed away. I mean, that took a lot out of me. It's like, who's the motivation for, you know? I mean, it still sucks for me, you know. I have to wake up every day and like, who am I doing this for, you know? And now it's just for myself and for Blair.
Yeah. I guess I can imagine that being a pretty big adjustment, especially when you're like you said, you're getting up every day and somebody's like telling you got to go do this. Not so much you're getting up and like, you know, doing it for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Learn to want it for yourself again.
Yeah, because you know, at a young age, I mean, you want to make your dad happy. First of all, my dad and I had a really, really strong relationship, and then Earl calling him every day, like, so you're doing it to make both of those guys happy, and it's like I couldn't fail from a young age, but I was provided everything possible to make me successful, and I feel like I did that, you know. I mean, I'm pumped with my career and pumped with where I'm at in life right now.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. What do you think? Kind of did that switch for you to make you fall back into it? I know you took what is it? 1 year off. Kind of, you did some wild card stuff, but you took some time off of really being seriously full time at it.
Yeah.
Didn't you work for UPS?
Yeah. So in 2019, I was Superbike, and then didn't race in 2020. I did one wild card, but it was just kind of like, I'm going to show up. I didn't care about racing at all. I didn't love it. And after that, I was like, all right, I need to be done. I was just kind of over it, like you said, burnout. I worked for UPS. I cut death dates with my uncle. And then even in 21, I was still working for UPS. And, you know, that Stock 1000 championship in 21, I still wouldn't say I had the love for racing, but my love for racing didn't start again until like 2 years ago. Even in 23, you know, after that Superbike season in 22, I was just kind of over it and not having fun. But just in these past 2 years, I've kind of realized what I have in life, and it makes me grateful for what it's provided me. You know, like I said, I have a place on 13 acres, and I'm really thankful for my life and where I'm at now. And with myself and Blair, you know, I'm at a happy spot in my life and enjoying racing again. And I don't know like what else I would do right now if I wasn't racing.
Do you think if because your father passed away, what year was it?
2018. So it was tough. You know, Nicky was 2017, my dad 2018, and then Earl 2019, I think it was. So just in the span of 3 years, I lost like 3 role models in my life that meant everything to me at the time. So I think, you know, once my dad passed away in 18, I still raced competitively in 19, and after that, I lost my ride, so I don't think it really sunk in until that 2020, like that off season, and it just hit me hard. You know, I think that's kind of what made me fall out of love with racing, and at that time, is when I kind of like expressed like kind of my feelings, and it sunk in like, damn, like, you know, that's what I was doing it for, my dad and Earl and all them. Do
you think had that not had happened, do you think losing your ride in 2019, like you would have had a different kind of trajectory?
I think 100%, you know.
Like they wouldn't have let you kind of take a couple of years off or sit home or whatever?
Oh, for sure, you know, because they kind of, I wouldn't say guided every decision I made, but the Hayden family and my dad, like that's who I wanted to make proud. And I didn't have anyone older than me to kind of guide me or like kind of tell me what to do or help me get rides or anything. You know, it was down to myself or my mom, and I was just kind of in a tough, dark place, and I would say kind of I hate to say the word gave up, but I just kind of gave up in 2020 because I actually came up here to Road America and rode the Shy B BMW and Superbike, and like I said, didn't have any fun, and went back home and just over and didn't call or talk to anyone at the races, didn't watch the races in 2020, anything. You know?
What were you doing?
Not good stuff, you know. I mean, really,
some
like
bush lattes.
yeah, some Busch Lights drinking. It was a tough spot for me because I was just so pissed off with everything racing and just the way, I wouldn't say my life turned out, but just everything that was going on throughout that time. I didn't tune into MotoAmerica. I didn't do anything. I was drinking with my buddies, just hanging out. I didn't really work that much throughout that year. I was just, you know, luckily had some money saved up and just hanging out, doing kid stuff. I don't know how old I was back then, but you know, at 25, 26 years old, you're like kind of figuring out what the hell am I going to do with my life now.
That's crazy. And then so mentally that's tough for you. And then what made you go out? I mean, obviously you just needed to get a job, or like how'd you get into the UPS thing? What was why?
Yeah, actually one of my buddies is a driver for UPS, and I thought it'd be something fun to do, you know, because they get to go out and see the countryside and they make good money and everything. So I was like, heck, why not? So I signed up for seasonal stuff, and that's back then I had a passenger van and was delivering stuff out of my van, and I loved it. And I still do it in the wintertime. You know, it's
You do?
good. Yeah, it's still
Still?
good. Yeah, I just did it this past winter
awesome.
from October to December, and people asked me kind of what my backup plan would be, and if I could go into driving UPS after racing, I would do it immediately. But the process is like a 5-year wait to become a driver there, and
It's different down by you guys. You own your own route. It's like a whole thing, right? More so than like.
it's different than other UPSs for sure. I don't know it's a union job, so you don't really own your own route, but they do assign you a route. But everyone meets up at the hub every morning, and off you go with your truck loaded down for the day. But
Didn't you get locked in the back of your own truck? Dude, you got to tell that story. That shit is so funny.
So I think this was my second year doing UPS throughout the winter, and I was still I had a cargo van set up for racing, so it had the partition in it, the wall and everything.
Which I didn't even realize it was your own van. That's
I
even
didn't,
better.
Yeah.
but I didn't
thought
know
it
you
was-
could do that.
I thought it was a UPS van.
Me either. That's why. Yeah, but I was at someone's house, and you'll learn it because in the back of a cargo van, I didn't even know there was a child lock. There's a child lock on the side of the door, and I guess someone at work or one of my buddies or something playing a prank on me. So windy day in the wintertime, and crawled back in there to get this stop. I remember like it was yesterday. You know, this stop would order something every single day, and there was like 10, 12 packages. So I was in the back of the van, and the door shut, and I was like, shit, I didn't even think anything about it. The door shut on me. Go to open up the door, it's locked, and I'm like, son of a bitch, because I saw it was unlocked, and I was just stuck back there. I thought about busting out the window. Luckily, I had my phone, and the package, you know, had the person's number on it. So I called the person 2 times, left a voicemail, nothing. And that's the last thing you want to do is call the boss down there at the UPS. And I was like, first I called my buddy that works at UPS. I'm like, hey, you got someone that can let me out, because I don't want to call the boss and he'll be pissed. And luckily, like another driver had to come let me out of the van. But it was a funny story because the daughter, I don't know if she was in college or what, but she came home and pulled in right behind me in the vans. You know, I put my flashers on, and I was like, oh shit, this is my chance to get out of here. And she's walking by, and I'm beating on the side of the window, and I was like, help.
What is it, like Interstellar?
She still didn't help you?
No, she didn't help. Like, she's, you know how like when you freak out, she stopped and looked over but I had tinted windows and everything, so she couldn't see in there. And she told her mom. And like the worst thing and the funniest thing is that after that was over, the mom like blasted me on Facebook, but the mom never texted or called me back about her stuff, you know, because I called her twice and left her a voicemail, and she blasted me on Facebook, and it all just turned funny, and it went around all of UPS for sure.
Wait, she blasted you like?
No, she wasn't pissed on,
Oh.
but she was like, hey, like she took a picture of my van off her Ring camera or whatever, and it was like, and posted a picture of my voicemail. Like, she thought it was funny at the end of the day.
Oh, okay.
She know who you were?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't know who I was at all. Yeah, we weren't even friends on Facebook or anything. And like, I didn't know him at all. But someone that I was friends with tagged me in it, and I was like, yeah, this is me.
That's so classic.
It's funny. So, so for people that don't understand, I'm actually super interested on it. You know, maybe a gig for myself as well. How does it work? So, like,
Sorry, guys. This is a podcast about getting a UPS job now.
But how does it work? It's like you.
So now in the wintertime,
you run your own vehicle, and
Yeah.
do they pay you for that?
Have
or-
you ever had to get a job?
Me?
Yeah.
Dude, I live a job.
I was in the same boat. It's like, heck, what do I do? But it was, you load up your own van, they pay you hourly plus mileage. And they would,
Okay.
I had that cargo van, so they would send me out in the country, and I was just out in the country roads all day and actually loving life. It was fun. And I did that in the winter of 20. I worked in the warehouse all of 21, actually, that Stock 1000 championship. And I didn't have much fun, but I was like always like preparing for what's next after racing. And I mean, I was sweating my balls off in the summertime unloading semis, like just thinking about racing, but I knew where I'd came from a year earlier, so I was like, I'm gonna keep working here, gonna try to get a driver job. But then in 21, after I won the Stock 1000 championship, is when I got the M4 Superbike ride, and I was like, all right, I gotta refocus and put everything I have back into racing and quit working at UPS. But I still do it in the wintertime. Yeah, I love it.
What do you make in a season? What's like a winter season rate?
I don't know. Like back then, it was really, really good actually, because I would
Really?
work. I mean, I don't know what's good money to most people, but for Kentucky, like each week it would be like $1,200. So
That's
for me,
not bad.
I was pumped with it,
Yeah.
and now I don't really get in 8 hours as much because like they've diverse routes and all that stuff. But it's just something to keep my mind like off racing throughout the wintertime, and keeps me doing stuff for sure. And it's like a good part-time gig.
When you go back to that time period and you're sitting at UPS loading boxes in the back or unloading boxes out of a truck, do you remember what it was like that thought process of like being surrounded by people who have no idea, or maybe they do know what you actually did otherwise, but what is that like to go from being like at one point you were on the Factory Yoshimura team only 2 years prior, right, to that?
4 years,
4
yeah.
years prior. We're basically the top of the world. That's everyone's dream ride in America growing up. What is it like, or what are the thoughts that are going through your mind when you're going from that to throwing around boxes in a UPS truck?
I mean, honestly, like I feel like I'm one of the only riders that likes when I'm home to get completely away from racing. Like when I'm back home, I don't really enjoy talking about motorcycles, and I mean, we live this motorcycle life. I mean, it's a lot of people's dream and what a lot of people want to do. But for me, still, when I'm home, I want to get away from it and go enjoy time with my friends and stuff like that. I still ride back home, and I still do love, like I said, the love's back for racing and riding dirt bikes and stuff. But I don't want my life to completely consume motorcycles, and especially with Blair and I, she's got good friends and she's a teacher, and I don't want to like take away from her life just talking about motorcycles all the time. But those kids didn't have a clue who I was at UPS, and they're 19, 20-year-old kids working their ass off, trying to become a driver. So we didn't talk about motorcycles at all. And back then I didn't care because I was just over racing, and I didn't care to talk about racing. We just cut up, and I was one of the boys at work, and enjoyed it actually.
Do you think that time at UPS is what helped kind of get some fire back into you? Like we talk about it, or it seems to be a thing. Like, a lot of us have lost a year or something, have gone broke or lost a ride, and have kind of, fell out of racing and come back, and we're now in a great place. Like I feel like all of us are.
It's like a racer's version of rock bottom.
We all like
100%.
seem to like
We're
are
all
having
been
a
at rock
blast. Like I feel like I'm having some of the best times ever. I know you're having a good time, and to hear like your story and coming back and loving racing again. I mean, it seems like to be a theme. Do you think the UPS stopped racing and then coming back on your own terms? Maybe, like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but where did the fire? How?
I wouldn't say it relit the fire, because in 21 Stock 1000, like even battling for the championship, I was having fun at the races, but I didn't love it like I used to. Like even though I was winning races and battling Corey for wins and stuff, like after the weekend, it wouldn't like fulfill me. It like you hear some people with all the money in the world and stuff, like that doesn't make you happy. So I wasn't in a happy spot actually in 21, and then in 22 I completely hated racing actually, and Superbike series. It was tough and riding for M4. But what really lit the fire is, like I said, being at home one day. It's weird. It like flipped a switch for me, because I was like, got all this land, this property, everything I own is because of racing and my talents on a motorcycle. And with Blair, it's like I didn't want to sit around being depressed because I didn't have a good season. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna just go do the best I can and enjoy racing now. And it's just kind of who you surround yourself with, too, people, the teams, and all of that stuff. Because for me, I go to the races. It's a lot of pressure still for me even nowadays, but I go to the races to enjoy my time now and like around. And if I don't like you at the races, I mean, I don't really have to talk to you or hang out with you. You know, I have my certain group of people I talk to and enjoy being around.
Do you feel like knowing kind of what that rock bottom actually is makes it a little less scary and easier to enjoy, you know, now because of the fact that, you know what the worst option is?
100%. Like you said, I was at the top of the world. I was 19 years old on a Factory Yoshimura Suzuki Superbike. So it's like as a kid, you're just go, 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 go until you reach the pinnacle of the sport. And at 19, I was at the pinnacle of the sport, had a good year at Yosh and then got hurt in 16. And then 17, 18, I still had good seasons. And I didn't even think anything else about, I was focused, race. And then, like I said, 19, I had a good season, but at 20, rock bottom. And now it's like I can't ever like see myself getting to that place I was at. I was in 2020. I was in a dark spot. I was drinking a lot with my buddies and not enjoying life. And I don't know. I was still fairly. I was only probably 24, 25 years old. Like wondering what the heck I'm going to do with my life.
Were you with Blair then? How long have you been with Blair?
Yeah, I was with Blair then, but still, it's like, even though she made me happy, like up until then, racing was my life, and it got stripped from me, and lost rides and relationships with people, and that's why I like racing. Like I said, I like being around people that appreciate me and like hanging out with people that I care about, because racing's a cutthroat sport, and I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and been done wrong a few times, and it just, it's a business at the end of the day. And for me, that's what I had to accept, because being from Kentucky, everyone treats each other with respect and communicates and talks and all of that stuff. So I'd never been dealt with the cards that I'd been dealt like back then and when stuff happened.
Yeah, no, I think it's true. I think the hard part nowadays is that it's a business, but there's not a lot of money in it. So you're kind of getting both shit ends of the stick. It's one thing when you're getting, fucked around, but there's a lot of money on the line, and it's understandable. You kind of, I think in some ways it's nice because it takes you don't have to be fake because you're not worried about nothing. Like, if you hurt somebody's feelings, there's no real repercussions, because it's like, what are you going to do? Not give me a job where I'm not making any money?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but we didn't think like that.
Well,
Dude,
back then, growing up, it was like,
up,
I got to be nice to everyone. I can't do X, Y, Z, because it's like, I might lose an opportunity, and then I'm not going to make any money. I'm not going to have career path or whatever, where it's like, I think you kind of get to that rock bottom place. It's like, well, whatever. You weren't there when I was at that spot, and I somehow got back here, so I don't really care to have to put on a front, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, I don't put on a front at all anymore. I say what I want to say. I do what I want to do. And I mean, I do like hanging out with my buddies and drinking beer, and people in the pits know that now. And if you hold that against me or my size, that's another thing that kind of pisses me off. Honestly, it's like everyone knows I'm 6'4" now. From the time I was 8 years old everyone knew Skinny Jake growing up, but I mean, I'm a normal sized human being and know how to ride a motorcycle good. So it's like, if you kind of hold that against me from getting a ride, it does frustrate me. And like, even in 2022, it was in my contract. I had to be 175 pounds, and it's tough for me to do because of my height and everything. So it's just one of those things. Like, I feel like weight does matter, but then again, now I'm on the SuperSport bike, and I'm beating their rider in SuperSport that's 150 pounds. It's like, sometimes you want to give them the middle finger.
Oh, I get it. That's just insane to think that, you hear that in MotoGP and stuff. Yeah. Like, we had that thing with Loris Baz.
What do they do? They just wait. You have to step on a scale? Like, what the fuck?
I mean, I don't think I had to step on a scale, but I mean, you can kind of tell when someone's fit and in good shape. So as long as I was in good shape, it was okay. But I didn't enjoy that having to do that and kind of hold that above my head. So now it's like, I don't know, I just do what I want to do, say what I want to say, and go out there and try to do my best. I mean, at the end of the day, if you keep a ride, lose your ride, as long as I'm trying my best is all I can do.
Yeah. Going back to growing up, was there, I know I had actually thought you were homeschooled, which you said yesterday you weren't. Did you do anything else when you were growing up? Like, were you into sports? Was there anything else other than motorcycles?
I mean, no. I mean, in middle school there was, but it was just because my buddies were doing it. But it was race. Like, that's what my life consumed of from the time I was 5 years old until 22, 23 years old, whatever it was. I mean, we were racing or going to a track day every single weekend. You know, we would load up the van. And when I was 12 or 13, we actually had a mechanic that went with us. Up until then, it was my dad and I going to dirt tracks, going to track days, going to CMYA races in Texas, doing the mini endurances. And myself and the Gillums were like this, you know, like super tight up until, I'm not sure exactly what year it is, but we did a bunch of mini endurance racing, did the USGPRU stuff, always riding and doing as much track days and races as we can, because that was the thing. It was like at a young age, you need to get that experience and ride. And Earl helped us all out a ton.
I was going to say, when you said, I heard you say that Earl funded a lot of it, did like all of it, or like what is that? Like, I mean, you just said you had a mechanic go with you. I mean, that's pretty impressive too. Normally it's just the dad until you get to a team.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what year I was, but he funded, I mean, I wouldn't say everything, but a big percentage of it, because a lot of people probably thought like my parents had money, my family had money growing up, but we didn't at all. And my mom and dad sacrificed a lot, you know how like parents invest in their kids, but they put a lot of their money into it, everything they pretty much had. And then Earl funded a lot, bikes, got me the helmet deals, leather deals, helped me with tires and all that stuff. You know, I just remember when I was doing track days at 14 years old on a 600, I was on the old Hondas. He got the bikes from Freddie Spencer School. They would go to the AMA races and get the Dunlop takeoffs. You know, they would race on those, and I would get those for track days, do those on track days. And then it was just honestly insane to like look back and think what I had as a kid. I mean, I do see and understand why people were like probably jealous and thought we had everything, but like we worked our ass off to get to that point. And like we stayed in a cargo van, my dad, myself, Trice Welch, people probably remember him.
Oh yeah, Trice Welch, I remember him.
Yeah, but we would sleep in the van, in the back of the van on an air mattress or on a foam topper, and it's like we didn't spend crazy amount of money on anything. Like all we cared about was riding and going racing, you know, eating cold cut bologna sandwiches and potato chips in the van and just doing our best. And you know, this was before the WERA days. I did USGPRU, and I would say 12 years old is actually like, I just remember 12 years old is like the step for myself is like the step I knew I had to like start doing good, because Gerloff and I were huge rivals in USGPRU. And I remember, you know, into 2010, I believe it was, I thought I was going to go into USGPRU and dominate. That's back when we had more walkies and there was contingency in the more walkie class and all of that. And Gerloff came out at Jennings and was hauling ass. And it's like insane how much progress he made over a winter time. And him and I battled all that season. I think he won one championship, I won the other championship. And then going into 2011, it was, we were nationals, and that's when I was 15 years old, and I was like, this is the year before I turned pro, and it's like you got to make it happen. And we wanted to make sure we were on a good bike. You know, I rode the Hondas the year prior, and we switched to the R6 because the R6 was fast, and Earl helped get that funded. You know, Sport Bike Track Time at the time, they actually bought one of the bikes, and he bought me the other bike. And back then, everyone kind of knew it was like the Gerloff-Lewis show, and we were going to go fast. And I wanted to be on the best equipment because he was on the full Graves bikes and all that stuff. And at that time, I was jealous, actually, of Garrett, because I knew his family had money, in which we didn't have money. Earl was just working his ass off for me to try to get a pro ride. But that off season, like tires were a huge thing. You know, the Dunlop Intex were big. Michelin tire, like Sport Bike Track Time sold Michelin tires, and then Continental went after me. So like I tested all the tire brands at 15, and I just remember the Michelins we would get free for the season because of Sport Bike Track Time. Continental was going to give me unlimited budget and 10 grand to run their tires, and the Dunlop Intex were super expensive, but the Dunlop Intex were 2/10 faster, and that's what Gerloff was going to be on, so I had to be on one. So a lot of people remember that baby blue bike back in 2011 with the Princeton pawn on the side. Earl got like this guy named Ron McDaniel. He owned a couple pawn shops and to fund the Dunlop Intech bill for the year.
So
and
that is so sick.
I just remember the story because I didn't know anyone from Grays or know Chuck at all or anything. In 2011, Gerloff and I were battling tooth and nail, and I just remember hearing Chuck was pissed off about Gerloff losing to a kid sponsored by a pawn shop.
It was like something Chuck would say.
And just like super, like my amateur career before that, USGPRU, I was on really, really good rides. You know, I rode the Veloce Aprilia. Trice built me a rocket ship of a Milwaukee 250 back in the day. So, like, when I hit USGPRU, that's like the time I had super good bikes and super competitive bikes. It's like you had to win at that age and just perform. But even on, you know, the pod, I've listened to the pod and heard you guys talk about Red Bull Rookies Cup. And that's like something I kind of wanted to talk about just because, like, for some reason, Earl didn't want me to do Red Bull Rookies Cup because I think, you know, I had a contract with Red Bull, or if you made it into the program, you had to be under Red Bull's wing for however many years it was.
I think it was 5, right?
5 or 8. It was a long time, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever it was back then, he was like, I don't want you doing Red Bull Rookies Cup. So
You didn't even try out.
didn't
huh?
even try out or do
Wow.
anything. Yeah, it was insane.
Because he would have definitely made it, obviously.
Yeah, but it was just like I said earlier, whatever he wanted us to do is what my dad and I did, you know, so.
Do you ever feel like there was anything he like kind of led you guys down the wrong path on, looking back?
I mean, honestly, no, because it worked out perfect. And, I mean, he set me up to go Factory Superbike by the time I was 19 years old. It's every kid dreamed of. But going back to 2011, you know, Gerloff won one title, I won the other title, and, you know, we would smash track records and haul ass back then. And into 2012.
Yeah, by 2011, he did the wild card at New Jersey because he rode against me.
Yeah, because he was a little
I remember
older
that,
than I
and
was.
then you came in the following year, right?
Yeah, because my birthday was November, so
Yeah, I remember
I
you
was
all.
winter. Yeah, I was a winter birthday, and I saw because I can't remember exactly how he did, but he went to Jersey and did good there, and I was like, I knew the level he was at and the level I was at, so I was ready going into pros, and I didn't really have a firm ride. I didn't have that many options, you know, like people didn't really watch WERA Nationals that as much as we thought.
Yeah.
So the only person that I had to try out for was WERA Suzuki, which back then was a really, really good team with Mark Young running things. And I went and tried out for WERA and rode the bike a couple times before that first year pro in 2012 at 6, you know, turning pro at 16 like we all did.
Yeah, but you were a Suzuki guy like in dirt track. Weren't you on Suzuki's the whole time? Like, was it always your destiny to be a Suzuki guy?
No, like back then it was.
I just remember that RM85, RM80, and then you were like always on Suzuki's.
Yeah, but that was because of Suzuki of Paris. Like this guy named Chris Grissom, he ran a dealership who built our bikes and helped us out. I didn't have like a Suzuki connection or anything like that. It just always worked out to be on Suzuki.
Are you a Suzuki guy though? What kind of guy are you? You had to
Jigsaw
say.
guy?
Some people ask me that now, like, am I Suzuki, Yamaha? I mean, I just
you
want to
gotta
be
say
on
Harley guy.
I want to be
nowadays.
on whatever bike's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you had to go buy one, no money's worth it. Like, what are you buying?
I mean, to be completely honest, I would buy like the most badass naked bike. Like you could buy like, I know I'm riding Hooligans now, but I just think that would
Probably
be
get yourself an arch. That's what I would say, right?
Plug.
I think that would be the most comfortable and most fun bike to ride on the streets, you know. Like, it just, I like sitting upright, and I feel like you would have so much fun on a naked bike on the street. I don't know what brand, you know, the Harley America, of course.
But have you guys, all right, just while we're on naked bike, do you guys have an issue with your fucking helmets, like pushing your fucking nose, like going down the
No,
straightway?
dude, I wear an Alpine Star. It's got phenomenal airflow, phenomenal.
Dude, go plug somewhere else, dude.
No, I mean, I remember when I heard you were going to ride the Hooligan class this year, because I just remember Daytona last year, the first time I'd been to Daytona on a naked bike. My damn shoulders and head were shaking and like burning so bad on that thing. This year it seemed better, but
Shit.
I just remember the first thing I was like, this son of a bitch is gonna rip me off the back of this thing going through the trial oval. That's how gnarly the wind was. It's pretty crazy. Like people don't realize it, but like no fairings or anything.
Yeah, especially
going that
6'4" or wind sail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What about where I was going with the bike thing was like I know me, like watching Bubba and Carmichael growing up, like I was a Cowie guy. Even now, like I'm still kind of a Cowie guy, even though like just as far as a fan of a brand kind of a thing, like that's like, I don't know, I feel like if you're a Dale Earnhardt guy growing up, you're a Dale Earnhardt guy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You have a brand like that?
I mean, not really, but like James said, I was a Suzuki guy when I was a kid, and then I was contracted through Suzuki from, I mean, Vezra was 2012, but I wasn't like,
Do you have a contract through Suzuki then?
no, but I
Oh.
mean like 20.
You were
when
supported though. You
I
were
was supported,
contingency
yeah, and
stuff.
I went to the Suzuki dealer shows and all of that. So when I do think about it, I mean, Suzuki funded my life for probably 7 or 8 years. So I like Pat Alexander, and I like the guys at Suzuki. They took great care of me, and I wouldn't say I'm a diehard Suzuki guy.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. What about that time period when you were supported by Earl? What were some of the things you were hearing from people kind of talking shit more or less? Was there a lot of naysay about the fact that you were like had huge support behind you, a bunch of money, all that kind of stuff? Were people saying that kind of stuff?
Maybe, but honestly, like I was a kid at that time. Like I don't remember. Like
Okay.
it didn't affect me one bit, or I didn't really hear about it. But I just remember like Earl would go to the races to watch his son, and then while he was there, he was vouching and trying to get parts and get tires and get anything he could to support myself. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it was crazy, and it's just crazy like to think about, like to look back now and think about how much they really did, like especially him helped me out. But like I said, growing up, I wasn't on the best equipment till I was like 12 years old, and then from 12 until I turned pro, I was on the most badass bikes you could get.
Did you ever, like during that time period, did the brothers or did Roger, Tommy, Nikki, were they involved at all, or was it just a Earl's project?
No, it was just completely Earl's project.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't know the brothers like hardly at all.
Oh,
Like,
really?
It was just Earl, my dad.
Wow.
We're tight and talking and everything. I never really went up to Owensboro to ride or anything until I turned 14 or 15 years old. It's not like I was tight with Roger, Nikki, and Tommy when I was a young kid.
They were
I didn't
away
get-
racing too, right?
Yeah, I didn't
So-
get tight with those guys until I was 18 years old, pretty much.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
not
it's just assumed everything. Everybody just I think assumed that
Yeah.
you were just
I
like
think Nikki's calling you after every race when you're racing
Yeah, I mean-
USGPRU or
I mean,
something.
for real, people probably thought that, and maybe thought I went up to the Hayden camp to
For me,
ride with those guys
definitely.
and everything. But no, I didn't. Like, I did everything like riding wise at my house by myself, and then I would go to track days and races. That was the thing that like made me faster at a young age. I would ride or do track days every single weekend. Come home, ride dirt bikes, and just ride. And
What do you think is the biggest thing you got from Earl that you still like, something that still he's in the back of your head?
I mean, I think just like working hard, and be grateful and be professional. Like I still feel like I'm professional. That was the biggest thing for him. Like, don't necessarily like burn bridges and piss people off. Even though I wouldn't say I've burned bridges now, but now I'm being almost 30 years old. I've figured out like what I can and can't do, and there's certain people I don't care to talk to in the pits, like I said. But Earl's biggest, like, everyone respected Earl Hayden and what he did for his 3 boys for sure.
Do you? I know you mentioned kind of you and the Gillums. It was something we talked about with Hayden. Was it a bit strange growing up that you were like representing Earl and whatnot, and they didn't really, right? Like Hayden didn't really, and Frankie and them, they never really ran Earl's race team or anything like that, right?
No, it was a little bit different. Like it was a big deal because they did run Earl's racing team. Like we traveled to the races together in their van and trailer with no telling how many bikes. 6 or 8 bikes. Is Frankie Lee, Hayden, Ethan, myself. We all raced probably 4 or 5 years doing mini endurances, doing everything, and he did fund us and did help us all big time. But then Ethan passed away in 2007. You know, we were only 11 years old, and then I'm not exactly sure like 100% what happened, but I just know there was kind of a falling out between Earl and the Gillums and all of that stuff. And then it was a tough period there for a few years actually between myself and the Gillums, because I was still a kid and didn't know how to handle it and take it. But like, we would go to the local indoor dirt track sometimes and butt heads and didn't really talk for a while, and it was tough there for a few years. And like, it's still kind of like, you know, you're kids, and you don't realize what's going on. But I just remember at one indoor race, like, breaking down crying to my mom and dad, like, because they were my best friends there for 3 or 4 years, and then we didn't talk for a couple of years there. So it was a tough time period for sure. And then, like, you know, I was the Hayden's boy, and I don't know if that like was like pissed him off or not. Like, I didn't think about it at the time. And then I just remember even when JD and I raced sport bike, like, they weren't allowed to come over to the Hayden house and ride. Like, you know, Earl didn't want him to see like what we were working on and what we were doing, you know, because we were rivals.
Oh, JD, you mean?
Yeah, JD, and then like even Hayden. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see how it could be, you know, weird on their part. That's kind of what we talked with Hayden a little bit about. But do you ever think about how some of those situations you had to deal with at such a young age, like now, kind of looking back on it, how strange it is to even think about? You know,
it's completely like crazy to me. It's like, I'm only 30 years old, or I'm turning 30.
How old are you?
29, but I'm turning 30 this year, and just to look back on my life, and especially racing career, and think of all the highs and lows and things that have went on throughout my life, you know, and just to think, I mean, I really was like the Hayden, like, child, like their golden boy there for a little while. You know, Earl helped me just as much as he helped his kids, and it's just one of those positions. It's kind of like Deegan with Supercross and motocross. Like, even if you have the best stuff and the nicest things to make stuff happen, like, you're still the one that has to go out there and race. And that was the position I was put in. Like, from the time I was 12 until turned pro, it's like, I'll put you on the best stuff, but I still had to go out there and win and do my job. And I didn't feel pressure at all until I was later on in life. Like, it was just embedded in me to go out there and try to win and do my best. And, you know, even my first year pro when I was 16 in Supersport, I mean, my goal was just to go out there and try to win.
Mm. That was in 2012.
Yeah, 2012 was turned pro with WERA Suzuki.
Yeah, we had a big year.
Yeah, I mean, I was 16, and the class there was a lot of people. I mean, I remember Daytona, there was 53 or 54 of us on the track, and the practice sessions would get red flagged 2 laps in because of crashes and stuff. But I remember going into that first Daytona race in 2012, and I had like 9 laps of practice and qualifying. That's all we got, and then we were going out there racing, and I think you won that one, but I was like second in my first ever pro race, and like, I was like, it was you know, it wasn't the premier like sport bike class, but super sport, like,
dude, it was hard.
Yeah, it was still tough, you know. It's cutthroat.
I wish there was a series like that now in some regards. Like, I wish there was a little bit of a Superstock, you know, super sport vibe.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Because you kind of came up through the you know, back when there was a feeder type of system where you went USGPRU and then graduated into Supersport back then, which was like a lower version of what Supersport is now. It was kind of like a Supersport junior class.
Yeah.
What do you think about the way that we kind of have things set up now, in regards to the fact that there's really none of that? Like, if you're coming in and turning pro at 16, you're not generally jumping right into Supersport. I mean, like, the one exception to that thus far is really Blake Davis, but otherwise these kids are running, you know, now they got this what do they call it? It's not Twins Cup.
Talent Cup.
Twins Cup.
Bikes, yeah.
And then you can get into Supersport if you kind of get through that. So you could be 18 before you even see a 600.
Man, it's tough. Like, that's what helped me too. Like, I just feel like to get pro, like, everything lined up perfect, because USGPRU was huge back when I did it. You know, there was 40 RS 125s on the grid. The Milwaukee class was huge, and I was from 12 to 15 racing against good guys on good bikes, and like, that just kind of helped make me more ready for pros. Like you said, when you jump into Supersport now, like, Blake's made it happen from Twins Cup into Supersport, but like there's not that many kids that are going to make it or going to be good in Supersport, in my opinion. Like you look at Supersport, I mean, there's a bunch of old vets in
I
there.
was gonna say it's an old boys class.
It's an old boys class, but the thing is, like, we still haul ass and we still go fast, so it's tough for
Shit,
kids.
we're still getting beat by old guys
Yeah,
older than us. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Hayes won one race this year. It's like,
It's just tough for kids to jump in that class and be successful. But I do feel like it's better now, like with the Talent Cup bikes. But I don't know. They're so
Have
expensive.
you watched any of the races?
I have because like
Oh yeah, you got Sam.
I got Sam Drain, from Australia, who lived with us last year, and he has only been road racing for 2 years. So up until this year, no, I actually don't watch Junior Cup class. I do watch Twins Cup class just because it's like a little bit closer to Supersport and stuff. But I didn't watch the kids class till this year, and I just think it's tough for those kids. You got to have a lot of funding because most of the kids are self-funded teams, and unless you're like dominating that class or dominating Twins Cup, it's like really, really tough to get a Supersport ride and jump in and be competitive. In my opinion, when I got into it, there was more rides available in 2012, and nowadays it's harder for teams to take risk.
Yeah, but I think as well, like, I mean, personally, when I look at it, I think if you don't have you guys in there, yeah, I'd love younger kids in there, but we don't want the class to slow down.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't want that to happen. We want the laptop records being broken and the kids that can make it, I guess it's an opportunity issue versus a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both, but it's also like there's so many avenues you can go now where it's like back then it was like you want to go pro, you get on a 600. That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Granted it wasn't in the big boy class 600s, but you had to get on a 600.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then you
but
knew
I
where
don't
you
even
were at.
think we couldn't even make the grid though back then because there was when we started there was still 10 factory supported bikes.
on the real Supersport.
Yeah,
grid.
Daytona Sport Bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for us, we were in a junior class for a reason
Yeah.
because we were getting groomed. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
me was the first one. Then
Yeah.
you, and then you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we got off topic a tiny bit, but it was perfect scenario 600 for me because, like James said, it was like technically the kids class, like grooming you for sport bike. So I had 1 year in that, and then jumped into the Big Dog 600 class and did 2 years of Big Dog 600 class. But I'd say if I didn't have that 2012 season where I was still successful, and it wouldn't have helped me prepare for 2013 because you know how it is if you jump into a class and you're getting 10th or 12th, you're like, shit, your confidence starts going down, you start struggling, and I was more ready going into 13 after doing 2012.
I think you learn a lot too, like at being at a front of a race and being able to do lap times. And the bikes, yeah, they were quite far away, but you could get. Everybody knew like if you got to a certain lap time on this bike, you were like, ooh, you know what? We could probably. There was an easy way for people to pick. Right, like the guys, the Chuck Graves, the Pat Alexanders were watching the guys that they were going to pick for the future, and I think that was something pretty special. It's a hard one though because you don't want to split classes anymore, right? Like nobody wants to see a split class because we don't have the entries to do that.
You couldn't even really do it anymore because there is no other than putting like an age limit. But the Supersport bikes are, like the Ducati's not a. It's just a stock bike.
I know it's
limited, so and they're not cheap, so it's not like you could do
Yeah.
that. But I do feel like there is, I don't know, it's just interesting. There seems to be a reason why there's so many guys from that era that like Gerloff, and if you look at who's still around from that time period, they kind of came up that way. So as far as a talent generation thing, I think
it's everyone our generation really running at the front.
yeah,
My age or even older than me, and I just remember 2 years ago when I rode with Blake, I think that was his first year in Supersport. I came off and I either told his dad or even talked to him. I don't know Blake that well, but I told his dad, like, just stuff I saw back then 2 years ago. I was like, he's going to run at the front in Supersport. And, like, for me to be on track and, like, see talent, it's different than watching from the sidelines. Like, I rode with him and I was like, I knew he was going to be good, yeah. And there's not many kids that I see that impress me enough that can go in there and win Supersport races nowadays.
But to be fair, you probably wouldn't have said that if you watched him ride a Twins Cup bike.
I don't know. I
but-
followed him behind Twins Cup, and I came off and I said he was very impressive just because of the lack of mistakes.
Yeah.
And the amount of, like, these kids, when you, like, that class, I did 2 or 3 races, and the amount of kids that get away with not hitting an apex and just doing things so crazily. I wouldn't even say wrong, just unorthodox, and getting a lap time and being at the front is like, it's crazy. And to see him, how it sound, hit his marks every lap, be able to lead a race, get better through progression, I kind of saw, I was like, yeah, there's something there. But you don't know about the jump, right? Like,
right, that's what I mean. It's like you see somebody ride, even if they're not there yet, you can go, okay, he'll figure this out. Where, like you were saying, it's kind of hard to make that guess when you're watching somebody who's riding a Twins Cup bike. It's like, what is that relative to?
Yeah.
Or these smaller bikes, which, I guess they're like a modern version of what we had when we were
I will say, though, that the R7, like R3, R7, R9, the chassis and the bodywork is so similar, and they all feel the same. Like the R7, I felt it was as big as an R9 or an R6. Like it was long, it was big. So like the feeling of it and him coming up one motorcycle changed through the progression of the new bikes and the new gen, I think actually helped him quite a bit, because the characteristics of all those bikes, Yamaha have done, like their DNA is through all those bikes.
That makes sense. It's cool. It's cool for him because he's probably one of the only few in the last decade that's been able to come up like through a ladder of a brand. You don't really see it anymore.
He's like,
there is no
to me,
brand.
he's like the Gerloff of Yamaha from when I grew up. Gerloff was Yamaha's like golden boy, and now that's Blake Davis for Yamaha.
Does he win a Superbike champ? Like, how long does it take?
I mean, even the level he rode at already this year compared to last year, it jumps big. Yeah. But I think I think he will for sure win Superbike races, no doubt. But
if that's even his goal, who knows where things are going.
I don't know how long it'll be, but yeah, he for sure 100% will. But you know how it is. Like he's gonna have to beat Skoltz and win a championship to get the opportunity.
To see him though throw stuff in with at Skoltz with at Barber being teammates, that's a big move.
Atlanta too.
Well, no, that's
how. That was big.
That's why I said it.
Like there's no anarchy. There's no hierarchy.
No, I know that was a huge move, and that's why I said 2 years ago when I rode with him, like the aggression and like the precision that he rode with, I was like, he's gonna be good. Yeah.
No, he's super smooth. He's also like smart. Like he doesn't ride like an asshole, which is usually you get kids like that. They're kind of a little bit on the edge. You're a little bit nervous to be around him.
Yeah, for sure.
I like riding around him, and he's courteous, and he's a nice kid.
I got one off the wall. Who's the most underrated rider in Supersport right now?
I mean, I don't know, honestly. Like
Jake Lewis.
No, underrated. I think you're rated.
I would say I'm rated, but then again, like underrated because no one ever thinks I'm going to put the thing on the box or do good. And in my opinion, they always come out with the odds, and no matter what, I'm always 6.5.
No, I think that's long gone.
He's checking his odds.
I think that's gone. Who's 6.5?
I'm always still 6.5.
Oh, I would
checking his odds.
I would go
before
under
the race.
I will say that Coda race was impressive.
Yeah, but
that Coda win was super impressive.
Yeah, and especially in the heat of it.
I was coming for you though.
Yeah, I was coming for you. Yeah, but I mean, I can obviously we go into a Supersport race weekend knowing it's going to be PJ and Matt at the front. Like those are the two guys, but everyone's getting closer to those guys now, and we're riding at such a high level, trying to play catch up. But I feel like the Supersport racing is good now, and I'm riding at a good level, and all the bikes, there's competition like Yamaha, Ducati, the Suzuki. I mean, there's people are putting in effort and money to win the things.
I want to make it easy for you. Who's the most overrated rider?
I wouldn't say anyone's overrated. No. Because, I mean, you go into the weekends, like, knowing PJ and Matt, like, it's always one of those two.
No, they're rated. I mean, I think they're on...
Overrated. Yeah, I don't know who would be overrated.
We'll get you on something, dude.
All right, well, we got to cut into our Law Tigers tech tip. As you know, you watched this before, but Law Tigers are America's motorcycle lawyers. A motorcycle accident isn't something you ever expect, but you need to be prepared in case they do. Jake, what do you? What's your tech tip? What do you give a guy who's just maybe riding? How about riding for the very first time, like got his first bike?
Tech tip wise, I mean, don't let me work on your bike. I'm the worst mechanic for sure.
Find a good mechanic.
Yeah, find a good mechanic. First time riding a bike, I mean, I would get a coach or be with someone that knows what they're doing. That's how like I grew up. You know, I didn't necessarily have a coach, but I knew like my dad helped me ride, and I've talked about it before. The biggest thing for me, like if I could give advice to people, is don't be scared to ride other people's bikes, because that's how I learned the most. And even to this day, I still jump on my friends' bikes, and we tested the R9s a few weeks ago, and like I rode Jared's bike. Like there's always something you can learn and pick up with the experience that's going to help you in the long run. You know, you can't just be set in your ways and ride that one bike. I just think it's the best thing to grab the most experience is just to ride every single bike.
So try new things, try new bikes.
Don't be scared to try new bikes. I mean, I did listen to the pod where Corey wadded up someone's bike and it cost him some money, but
wasn't my fault, man.
Even in like dirt track too. I mean, you don't have to have the best of the best bikes. I mean, you can ride little bikes, you know, XR100s. I still ride TTR 125s. I mean, there's so much stuff you can learn riding small bikes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think diversifying, I tell people go down and see Johnny Lewis do some flat track, go see whomever, try different things, try different types of riding even. That's a good one. I like it. If you or someone you know is ever injured in a motorcycle accident, always call Law Tigers. The services are of no cost to riders, and they fight to get riders taken care of and back on the road. With Law Tigers, Jimmy?
You never ride alone.
You never what?
I never ride alone.
You botched that one.
1-800 Law Tigers. Dude, I'm just, I can't because you went full radio voice on us.
Did I?
You literally like chopped him. You're like, dude, cut. All right.
Call 1-800 Law Tigers if you or anyone you know is ever injured or in a motorcycle accident. I wanted to ask, you talked about the Rookies Cup deal. Was there ever, obviously, hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, for people, we are on a lake here, so.
We're literally sitting on the lake. I want to know, and we talked a little bit last night, I think dinner time, but.
Dude, Blair would hate you right now. I'm sorry.
What's that? Did I do it? I don't think I did it.
Pet peeve.
You never really had any aspirations to go to Europe, huh? Was that kind of the deal?
No, that's one thing too. I thought it would be cool to talk about, just because for me, no, like it wasn't like my dream or goal actually to go overseas. Or I mean, everyone like dream is to go to MotoGP, but like for me, I set myself up perfect to achieve my goal. Like my goal was to kind of do like the Matt Mladen did, you know, get the best Superbike ride and to win AMA Superbike championships. You know, I even remember the old Road Racing World, what was the Young Guns, I think? Yeah, Young Guns. And it's like everyone's goal is like MotoGP champ, multiple world championships, blah, blah, blah. And mine was always like AMA Superbike championships. Like that was just what I wanted to do. And I like America. And I like being able to go home after every race. You know, I am a little bit of a homebody, so I thought it would be cool to just try to win Superbike championships and go home, and never had the aspirations to go overseas. And even this day, you know, I think it'd be cool to go do a wild card or two, but I don't know. I don't see myself going overseas and going that route ever.
Was there ever a conversation with Earl and your dad about like that you made a decision? Like, was there ever a, hey, do you want to try to go to Europe, or was it just like, did you ever like no, like?
No, it was never a conversation. They never asked me if I wanted to go to Europe, or I don't ever think he even tried to approach that, like go that route. You know, it was always AMA and just get me to the highest level Superbike here.
I mean, at the time though, coming through like the AMA purses and salaries were so big, like that would be the way to go.
Yeah, but like, especially when Tommy, Nicky, and Raj came through, it was huge.
Yeah.
You know, but like when we were Supersport, it's not like we were making much money, but
double contingency. Baby.
I always had double contingency, helmet, leather deals, and stuff like that. But
you got paid as a kid in your helmet and leather deals.
Yeah, so I never cared about money or knew much about money at all until I lost that sport bike championship in 2014. I knew I made, like, in 2012 I made good money at 16 years old. 2017 made good money in sport bike with helmet and leathers and stuff like that. But I just remember, like, for the first time I didn't care about money at all until I lost that 2014 sport bike championship against Gagne. And it was just like a pissing down rain race, and it was like 4 points between us. and my bike died, and I didn't even get to go out and race that first race, and it allowed him to win the championship. And I just remember it cost me like $75,000 to $80,000, like losing that title, because it was 25 grand from AMA. My helmet deal was 25 to win, leather deal 25 to win, and then from Mean Motorsports was another little bit. So it cost me like a lot of money back then, especially as an 18-year-old kid losing out on that much money. That's like the first time I realized like you can make some money racing motorcycles.
That's crazy. Like your first that Vezzer year, your first year, you had leather.
No, because that was a team deal. So
Okay.
that first year, no. But I was with Shoei and Cortec with Vezzer in 2012. But then I moved to Mean Motorsports, and I signed a 2-year deal to go Mean Motorsports in 2013 and 14. And I was getting paid from Shoei, getting paid from Cortec, the team.
Was that your first paid rides?
Yeah, back then it was first year pro was just riding for free, double contingency helmet,
Yeah.
a little bit of helmet contingency. But 2013, 14 was my first. Like I was making pretty good money actually. And
What was that? Would you say what your helmet deal was back then?
it was actually I remember exactly. It was a weird number because it wasn't like 15,000 or 20,000. It was 16,000, from Shoei,
Wow.
and then like 18,000 from Cortec. Like it was a helmet house deal.
Wow.
But, dude, those dudes took really, really good care of me. And
That's really good money.
yeah, I mean, as a 17-year-old kid, yeah, and I just remember that was another like reason and decision that we went with Mean Motorsports, is because I remember Bobby Fong was riding that bike in 2012 and had really, really good rides on it. And Earl was talking to Amin Sajadi, who was the owner of Mean Motorsports, and he told us he was getting full Chuck Graves bikes that were going to be the same exact spec as Bobier and Bobier and Gerloff, which it's hard to believe, are you actually going to get the same spec? But it was the same exact spec. So I had a couple options that going into 13, John Ulrich always wanted me to ride for him, and his team was going to Hondas that year, and that was it was a huge decision for me because M4 and Team Hammer was like the pinnacle of super sport racing, and it's like, do we go with Graves Motorsports R6s that like you don't know if they're actually going to be like factory spec bikes, or do we go with Hondas? And we decided to go the Mean Motorsports route. And I just remember that was like the first time. I never spoke to John or really remembered John that much, but he was pissed I didn't go with those bikes. And he was like, you're going to regret this decision because we're going to make these Hondas fast. But I remember from 2010, I rode those Honda 600s, and they were some pigs, but they handled
fast.
good. And
Dude, they were slow. I remember Dane did some impressive at Barber, but up until then, they were slow.
yeah, and we got on the banking in 13 for the Daytona 200, and I just blitzed by him, and I was like, we made the right decision. And I had 2 really good years on Yamahas, 13 and 14, especially 14.
What was that first Yosh, deal like? Was that because you kind of came in, not like out of the blue, but was it kind of filling in for someone or taking somebody's spot?
It happened super, super late. So 14, I won the title, and I hadn't signed the contract with me, but we were about to run it back in Supersport again, and I was going to have a teammate because I went and tested with Heron out at Thunder Hill, and I was going to do that again, but Tommy, had helped Chris Clark at Yosh at the time. He was like his mentor, coach, and everything, and he was going to be done racing, and I can't remember who rode Yosh 2014, maybe Cardenas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Cardenas got hurt or what happened, but it wasn't until January that the deal came together, and it was like so last minute, and like Tommy kind of helped organize it and, pushed for me because they were wanting someone young to step in and like with a lot of hunger and everything, and they did look at the sport bike races and watched them and all of that stuff, and I got picked for the Yosh Suzuki spot, and I was either 18 or 19 when I signed the contract, and that was the pinnacle of the sport back then, like even for me in 2015 and especially years prior. And I just remember when I signed that contract, like my parents like broke down in tears because it was like a lifelong like dream and goal that had been achieved.
Yeah.
Who was helping you through those contracts? Was it Earl or was it Tommy?
It was both. Earl always helped like the contracts and stuff, and then his health was a little bit started giving out just a touch, but Tommy, and then it came to Tommy. Like Tommy did everything for me. So and even I wouldn't say to this day, but a couple of years ago, Tommy would look over everything and help me out as much as he can.
That's really
Would
cool.
you? Did he? When those deals came up, or when that deal came up, was it like a set number that was like? Was there any negotiating at the table, or was it pretty just, hey, this is what you get?
You're lucky to get it, kid.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I was lucky to get it. Like the salary from Mean was like small, like super small, like nothing. And then it was this. Tommy was like, "Are you ready for super? Like, do you think you're ready for Superbike?" And I don't know if I was technically really ready for Superbike, but I was like, "If you have a Yoshimura Suzuki contract on the table, are you going to turn it down?" Hell no. So he helped negotiate all that because he had rode for Yosh for quite a few years before that, and he told me what I was going to get paid, what this was going to be, and sign on the dotted line. And I was like, just jumped on the deal. It was the best option for me, and it was like I said, a lifelong dream, and achieved at 19 years old and ready to get after it.
What was that first throwing the first leg over a factory Yoshimura Suzuki Superbike, like rolling out of pit lane? I remember those exhausts. They would crackle and like they sounded some of the craziest. They were so crazy back then.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like?
I mean, it was insane because I had done so good on like 600s, and I never rode a big bike at all. Like never thrown a leg over one. And I just remember being so damn nervous the first time we tested at Thunder Hill because I never rode 1,000. And I was jumping on a factory Suzuki with, I had a Japanese crew chief who was super intense, electronics guy, 2 mechanics, like for my first ever laps. And I was like, I was freaking out, but it was like so badass. And actually, like I struggled those first couple of rounds on the factory Suzuki just because I would get so nervous, and I was just like riding super scared for some reason. And I finally got like going, after the second round because already 2 rounds in, I remember I qualified at Road Atlanta like 10th or 11th. That was like the year of the rain races. Like it pissed down rain everywhere we went. And I would be like, I used to be a really good rain rider, but I was absolutely terrified of that Superbike in the wet, at such a young age. But
were you more scared of the bike or more scared just to like mess something up because it was like a dream?
Both. I was scared of the bike, scared of not doing good, scared of crashing, like everything. Because it rained at Coda. I didn't do that good. At Atlanta, it rained. I think it was, yeah. It rained on Friday. I qualified like 10th. And I went to the room that night, and like I was just bawling, crying, like, here's my dream ride, and I'm doing absolutely shit. And like I'm letting so many people down that, have helped me get to this point. And then we show up that next day. We did 2 races in a day back then. Show up that next day, just totally flipped a switch and battled Bobier for the win. And he passed me with like 3 to go. Like I was on the box both races, and then it kind of got the momentum rolling. I had a good year, some up and down rides, but back then the Superbike class wasn't super stacked. It was the 2 factory Yamahas, us 2 factory Suzukis, and then Gagne was on Road Race Factory bike and in like stock trim, like going really good. But that it was still a good year and good experience. And
That is crazy.
I think like now I have like a lot more experience and like a better outlook on racing, but like back then it was too intense. It was honestly too intense for me at such a young age, like 19. I think the biggest thing was I had the Japanese crew chief, and the Japanese are like so strict and like by the book and like intense, and it just made me like super nervous and like stressed out every single race weekend because like he was, he wanted to win races, and I mean, obviously I wanted to win races, but Bobier and Hayes and Raj were no slouch, so it was tough.
You were teammates with Raj at that point?
Yeah, teammates with Raj, and yeah, we did everything together. 2015, lived together, cycled together, teammates, did everything together, rode to the races together. They had a California house. I went out winter training with them, and it was like a kid's dream at, like I said, such a young age, and it was unreal, actually.
Was he cool about being a teammate, or was there any?
No, that first year, yeah, he was cool, but I think he got super pissed off actually up here in 2015. I can't remember exactly like the race, but we were battling big time, and I was in like second or third, and he was like trying to go to the front, I think it was, and I either stuffed him, and either stuffed him or he tried to stuff me and got all loose and ran off the track. And I don't know if he crashed or just ran off the track, but that was like the first time like he was pissed. And for me, it was tough because I'm going back home. Like, we're riding back home together in the same car, and we're going to live together, and we're going to wake up and eat eggs in the morning together. So it was tough, you know, because like living together and then doing literally everything together. Like, he's like my big brother. And then you show up on the race weekends and want to beat each other's ass on the track. It was a tough dynamic for sure. And then that fall, you know, because I was a 2-year deal, and then that fall I bought my first ever house there in Owensboro, and that was a little bit better to like separate us because we could like get away from each other because we did everything together in 2015. And even back home, you know, Roger's a huge mentor to me, and like I have nothing but good things to say about him. But you know how it is when you're living and doing everything 24/7 with someone. Like, we just started butting heads, like getting pissed off at each other, playing video games, playing basketball in the driveway, all that stuff. And it, like, everything was a competition. So it was just better to like separate a little bit. And like we're still close to this day, and we don't talk nearly as much as we used to. But I went out to California with him to train in the winters and cycled with him, rode at the still did everything normal.
Do you find that like the interesting thing about racing, like how you have these periods where you're just like so close with certain people, and then you know time goes by or circumstances change, and it's not the case anymore?
It's crazy to me because Raj and I were like with each other 24/7, like did everything together, teammates. And like 2 years before that, I didn't really know Raj at all. We got super close and everything, and then now we're older, and like I said, we don't talk outside the races. You know, he's still doing the commentating for MotoAmerica, but this is the racetrack's really the only time we talk, and that's just how it goes. You know, like you're always close. I feel like with your teammate, or I don't know about close, but you want to be friends with them and talk to them at the track, and then 2 or 3 years later, you don't ever see them. They might not be racing, they might be working a job, but it's just life. It, you know, goes on, and you have to make new friends. And I still do keep in touch with certain people from teams I rode with, but it's mostly like being close with people I'm racing for now.
Do you think, is there anything that you take away from the Yoshimura, those 2 years on that motorcycle or in that team dynamic that you use today that no other team has ever like given you? Is there like something? I mean, like you're riding a bagger now as well, which is like so far-fetched from that factory Yoshimura Suzuki. Is there anything that you could pick out from those years that you're like you sit in Saddleman or wherever, Altus, and you're like, dude, like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's anything from there that you still take today that
like
helps you,
technique-wise?
or just helps you, like, you know, what they did as a team, because they were so successful.
Yeah, super successful, but it just not really take that. I honestly don't take much from it because I was just a young kid, and I did the first year, and then that second year I didn't get 2 years on the bike. The second year I got hurt in the off season and had to go watch Tony, you know, went on my bike and then lost my ride. And I just remember how professional and how like badass the team was, because to me there's no other team that I've been on since then that compares to how nice and factory Yosh was.
Holy crap, what is this? Are we getting, what is it, Dunkirk?
Yeah, but you know, you go out to the shop and you had 2 factory bikes there, you had guys building your engines, you had 2 mechanics full-time, a crew chief. I mean, it was so nice. And nowadays, like I said, I don't know if I've been on a team that's been that like professional and had their shit together, just the amount of like work and effort that they put in, you know.
Resources too.
Yeah,
budgets aren't the same anymore either.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Do you think you would, if you know you got the opportunity now, would it be much better? Like, do you think you would have, like, if you took Jake Lewis right now and then you got a factory Yoshimura ride right now, like, would you be the same way you are today, or would you change to ride the bike again?
I would change to ride the bike again for sure. And back then, at 19, I just put too much pressure on myself, and I didn't realize exactly what I had and know the best way to go about communication. Like that was the biggest thing for me, communication. I'd never rode a bike with such refined electronics and came in the pits and there's 5 guys asking me what the bike needs to do better. And I was professional for sure, but like I was so little back then, I was like 155 pounds. And when I lived with Raj, like I didn't eat as much as I needed to. So like there would be races. Sometimes I would feel like I was getting sick, like during the race and all that stuff. So I feel like now if, I'm 10 years older now, but if I had the same bike and opportunity now, like, yeah, you would for sure, like I would know what to do better and be more prepared. That's all it is, just experience.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's just part of it. Do you think that there was a period where you kind of started to realize that, I don't know, I think when you, especially from a young age, when you start this whole thing, and I think probably all athletes that get to a high level feel the same, but you think you're supposed to get to a certain spot, and so you get so fixated on like that path to getting there that you don't think when you get there it's ever going to end, because it's like you kind of achieve that goal. It's like, well, that's, I worked to get there.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize that wasn't the case? Like that, obviously you lost the ride, but what was it? What was your trajectory after you lost the ride? Like where do you go to, if you already achieved your goal, what's the next goal?
No, I mean, I was like 2016. I mean, most people know, I got hurt. It was just,
how did you get hurt?
Yeah, it was such a shitty deal. I mean, I don't dwell on it now, but for years I dwelled on it. But we had just spent 2.5 months out in California training, with Roger, Nicky, and that's where we always went in the winters. And I was in such good shape and like so fired up for my second year on the bike. I'd been going fast, matching Roger at winter testing and felt good on the bike and all of that. And then I like back then being sports was the TV thing. So Raj flew to Florida to do something. So I drove our stuff back in the van from California. It's like a 30-hour drive or whatever it is back to Kentucky. And I didn't do it nonstop, but I had like, 4 hours of sleep, got home late. And then my buddy texted me the next morning, like wanting to go moto. And I didn't even think anything about it. Like how tired my body was, or like when you drive and don't get that much sleep, like how like not sharp my mind was. And I loaded up my stuff and went to the moto track and hit a kicker, panic revved and landed right on my shoulder, broke my shoulder, and I think it was my wrist. And yeah, I mean that was it. It was in like March, and then the season started in April, so like obviously I knew I was gonna miss the first 2 rounds, but it just took me longer to recover than I expected. Like the range of motion in my shoulder, I could sit upright and ride a dirt bike, but I couldn't get in a tuck. It was just too tight to get in a tuck, and it sucked watching Tony ride my bike and win because I knew how good the bike was. Like I thought I was going to be the one battling for podiums and battling for wins that year. And after 2 rounds, I think he had won 3 out of the 4 first races, and after that there was a little bit of a break, but I mean, what are you going to do if a guy that's winning a championship and then you have me, a kid, trying to come back? It's like the budget and resources was too much to do 3 riders, and I unfortunately lost that spot. But it worked out good, because Pat Alexander and Suzuki took care of me, and I got moved to the M4 Suzuki team in 2016. Chris, was having some health issues and retired, I think, halfway through the season, but I was still on the same Suzuki deal as I was still on my Suzuki, contracted through Suzuki to ride for M4 for the next 2 seasons. So they did look after me. So like mentality, I didn't really, I didn't get in a dark spot, or, I was bummed for sure, but like I didn't let it affect me that much. Like I rode stock 1,000 when 16, and that bike was really, really slow, but 17 they were coming out with a new bike. So for me, that was like the motivation to keep charging and keep going, because I knew in 2017 I was going to be on a good package again. I mean, even though I was a bummer losing the factory seat, but my goal was always to, all right, let's step back to this program and try to win races and get back to where I was.
When you, I think a lot of people don't realize like what goes into recovering from an injury like that, which segues really well into our next segment. the Yuasa Battery Recharge Your Battery segment. What do you do for recovery? You know, when you're in the position where you got hurt in March, and you know you got to go racing in April. You should be going racing in April. Like, I even know, like, the last couple weeks with my wrists, like, in your mind you're like, I'm gonna be ready by the time I've got to be back on the bike, but your body isn't there. What are you doing? Like, what are some of the things you had to go through in that time period? Did you have surgery?
No, I didn't have to have surgery because surgery wouldn't have sped up my recovery, but I was just doing all the PT in Owensboro. And that was another thing, looking back, I probably would have done different because the team wanted me to come out to California and do my PT and go to this woman to help more. And I didn't. I wanted to stay in Owensboro because I was like, I can do the same thing in Owensboro and recover just as fast. But, I mean, you know, I was just doing all kind of physical therapy, and it just wasn't coming fast enough because I knew I was going to miss the races and Tony was winning, and I just couldn't get my shoulder healed up fast enough. But nowadays, what I do to recover, I mean, sometimes three classes in the weekend's tough, and I do hang out for a couple of days, mow the lawn, and hang out.
A couple bush lattes.
Yeah, man, it takes it out of you, like, especially on the hot weekends like Coda, you know, doing 4 races in a weekend, sometimes 6 races in a weekend. I'm smoked.
Do you feel that now? Racing 3 classes, right? You raced Yoshimura Suzuki Superbike at 155 pounds, you know, versus now I don't know what you weigh, but, you know, you've got a little bit more timber than that. Do you feel better or worse on the bike? Or, like, I mean, you're doing 3 classes. That's a lot of work. I don't ever see you fade. You know, what do you attribute to that? Like, how do you have that sort of fitness, you know, versus you were, you know, string bean training for 2 months before the season? You know, I don't know your schedule per se, but, you know, what's different, and why do you think, are you just relaxed on the bike? Like,
mentality, baby.
It's all about mentality.
I mean, for real, it's like, to me, a lot of it is mental, and I'm not scared to eat and, like, scared to be a little bit heavier because I know I'm going to burn so much, like, weight on the race weekends, but it's tough doing 6 races in a weekend. Like, I have to be fueled up and be ready to go, and I just think bike fitness is different than running shape, cycling shape. You know, I used to do all of that so much, like cycling, running, like that was my life. Like, that's all I cared about, was being in good shape, being as light as I could be. But nowadays, I damn sure not the most fit guy in the class or in the paddock by any means, but I'm in good bike shape and just try to stay relaxed. Like, even on the track, you know, going down the straightaways, just making sure, like, I'm breathing, relaxing my arms, and then with me being taller, bigger, you know, I have more leverage and just know how to use my body weight more now.
I think that's all stuff you learn over time too.
Yeah, for sure. You know, like,
I know the same thing for myself, where it was like, you know, watching James train like Lance Armstrong, and for a while I was like, I felt like I was doing something wrong if I wasn't doing that. Kind of like how it was back then. It was like, if you weren't riding your bicycle or running, you know, marathons, you're like, you couldn't win. It was impossible.
I mean, it's still like that to this day. I mean, like, I just do what works for me.
Right.
I mean, everyone has something different. You know, James, a big cycler. Like, I'm not sure exactly what, like, you do for training.
Top secret.
This guy
but, like,
types his computer.
I just do what works for me and, like, what makes me happy in my life. Like, just showing up ready to go on race weekends and have all the energy I can, and mental. You know, like, that's the biggest thing for racing. Like, I don't care how much you train, you're still going to get tired in a race. And I mean, the last 3 laps,
it's all about your mindset.
Yeah, mindset. I mean,
it's mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, even if you're, like, say, to me, if you're in better shape than me, it's like, I'm still gonna try my ass off, and, like, I know I'm suffering, like, but I have 3 more laps, like 5 minutes to go. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm going all out too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like it. Setting the standard for batteries since 1979, Yuasa Battery. Each and every day, it starts with us. Visit yuasabatteries.com to find the battery for your machine, or to find your local Yuasa battery retailer. What about, like, living in Owensboro? Because
it's like a mecca.
If you're a fan of racing, you probably know of Owensboro from Nikki and obviously the bros, the Hayden bros, but what
OWB.
What is it like living there? Because, I mean, my experience when I went to go visit you is like, it's kind of a hot spot for racers, right?
Yeah, I mean, there for quite a few years we had probably 6 guys in MotoAmerica between, Raj, myself, even Tommy when I was racing. I mean, Nick McFadden, Gillum, Beach. I mean, the list, kind of goes on. And
Flat trackers now.
yeah, flat track. Like, it just, we got to a point where we did ride together all the time. And I don't know why it's like the Mecca, but I think mainly just because the Hayden family lived there. And the weather is good from March until September, October. And we ride all the time, like dirt bikes. You can just learn so many skills and traits on a dirt bike. And then in the wintertime, we did winter indoors. And I just think the more you ride is the better. Like, if I have any advice for a kid growing up, like, just ride as much as you can. It's kind of crazy to think about, but like nowadays, I was like going into Daytona this year kind of freaking out because from Jersey in September until Daytona, I had rode twice, none on a road race bike, 2 times on a dirt bike, and then show up and let's go, But I think that just boils down to the experience and how much time I've had on a bike my whole life.
Bike
Do you feel like sometimes taking, I don't know if it's not necessarily by choice taking that much time off, but spending that much time off a bike, sometimes you come back and you're actually like a little bit more, you'll go into it with that thought like, fuck, I haven't ridden in so long, it's gonna be tough, but you end up actually coming into it and doing better.
Oh, 100%. And I did that by choice. Like, I used to just ride and live on that, but like nowadays in the wintertime, it's like, all right, I don't care if I rode twice before Daytona. I mean, I didn't freak out till the week before Daytona. Like, I probably should have maybe rode a little bit more, but then I come into the season like more fresh and like more hungry and ready to go, like with the excitement to go to the races again and ride more. Like, I just have to like make sure I'm good to go for 6 to 8 months, and then in the wintertime just hang out and get ready for the next season.
What do you do?
You kind of forget about all those demons too. I feel like all the things you were frustrated with, or a crash or something. You kind of forget about it when you're not riding all the time.
Yeah, I get away from racing completely in the wintertime, but I work for UPS and then like go to the gym actually. But I might not do everything in the gym.
You're
but
laughing at him, dude.
James is laughing because
he told me that story about that guy with the sauna the other day.
I mean,
No, because Blair told me.
yeah,
Blair told me that your secret sauce, which I'm doing now.
I don't.
What's that?
I mean,
Dude, tell him the secret sauce.
yeah, the secret. I don't care to tell you the secret sauce, like, because
Little rub and tug?
no, people still make fun of me for it. Like, even the Drain family makes fun of me for it. But like, I've read some stuff about sitting in hot tubs and steam rooms and stuff like that. But I'll literally drive to the gym and sit in the hot tub for 10 minutes. The max 10, 15 minutes. Hop in a cold ice shower for 2 minutes. Go sit in a sauna for 20 minutes, sweat my balls off, jump back in that cold shower for 2 minutes, put my clothes on, and leave the gym.
Dude,
That's my kind of workout right there, baby.
Dude, but it's not even that's funny. It's just the way Blair said it yesterday was so funny.
I love Blair, man.
Dude,
She's so matter of fact.
It's so funny.
But,
and to be honest, everything you're doing is right. Like, it's good, but
no,
it's
but
just
doing
funny
that is
discipline.
It helps my mentality so much. Like, I'm not scared to go jump in a cold ass lake or get in a hot tub. Like, I think that like for me, I don't, like you said, some stuff works different for everybody, but like that makes me mentally stronger. Like, I'm getting like out of this hot tub and I'm getting in this cold ass water. Like, it's making me mentally stronger.
Bro, it's the brown fat. Dude,
love it.
Huberman said the brown fat. You're creating brown fat.
I think a lot of it is, I mean, everyone says it all the time. It's not bullshit that it's racing is it's mental. I mean, like, I think
100%.
you could take the fittest guy, put him on the best bike with tons of talent and years of riding, and if he's not mentally there, he's nowhere.
We see
100%.
it.
Yeah.
We see it. Look at Tony Arbolino.
Yeah.
Like, dude was winning races. The guy is like 20th.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you lose it, and it doesn't take long to lose it. You can see it. Raul Fernandez. You can see, like,
I mean,
these
even
guys
back
on
in the day, like,
me too.
yeah.
Everyone
goes through it, but like, even at Yoshi, I was training my butt off every single day. Showed up, felt like I was the fittest guy, but I wasn't mentally there for the race weekend. So nowadays, like, I make sure when I show up to the race weekend, I'm like mentally in the right spot and ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge part of it. Back on the OWB thing, when I went, it was cool to see like the Nikki statue, and it feels like the town has really embraced like the racing side of things, which is not something you ever see. You go to certain other parts of the U.S. and there'll be like NASCAR stuff or whatever the case is, but there's typically not much for motorcycles.
Yeah.
Was there ever any like periods where you were, usually you go to high school and there's like the jock or whatever who plays football and they're like the badass? Was it different like that being in Owensboro, that if you race bikes it was like you're the shit?
More so in my town I grew up, actually, like, because I didn't go to Owensboro that much
Right, that's
growing
true.
up, but Princeton, like, the town I grew up in was 6,500 people, and I was professional athlete, like racing professional in high school. That was like the thing for me growing up. My parents, you're going to public school no matter what, even though sometimes I wanted to be homeschooled so I could ride more, and I knew Gerloff was homeschooled, and I was like, I want to do what he's doing. But I went to public school, graduated, everything, but it was kind of cool because 2013, is the races were on CBS Sports.
Rookie of the year, right?
Yeah, Rookie of the Year, but CBS Sports, all the races were on CBS, and they came to do a video throughout my high school. And I mean, you obviously feel like you're the shit when you're a junior in high school. And
pulled a few more ladies that year, baby.
Yeah,
big boy.
Yeah, but that was cool. But I mean, OWB for sure, I mean, is racing like stuff. They're more about car racing. Like,
Oh, really?
Nicky was the shit, but like stock car racing in Owensboro is huge. We have Windy Hall Speedway and tracks around us. Like, car racing was huge. Where Nicky, like, if he went out in Owensboro, MotoGP World Champion, like the biggest, title you can win in motorcycle racing, like some people wouldn't realize, who he was or what he did. But if you go overseas, he's huge.
Yeah. What was it like? You're fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with Nicky. What was he like in terms of like an everyday kind of guy? Because I think people saw him out in public, obviously, and kind of how he was known to be very professional and he didn't drink, nothing like that. But he just he's reserved, I guess is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
What was he like spending more time with him personally?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much like that, really.
Really
professional. But like Nicky was super funny and like kind of a prankster too. Like, not many people got to spend time with Nicky Hayden and live with Nicky Hayden. I had 2 winters where I lived with the Haydens, and I was like willing to do anything to stay with him. I slept on the couch, and it was, to me, it's crazy because the Hayden house had like 4 bedrooms in it. Tommy had the master suite up top. Nicky had a room up top. There was an empty bedroom next to Nicky's, and then Roger was downstairs. And the winter I went and stayed there, like, I wasn't allowed to stay in that room next to Nicky because it would disrupt his sleep or
No
whatever.
way,
No
really?
way.
So I slept on the couch, and then one day Roger and I went and bought a $300 mattress, and I slept in the dining room there. But he, like, that's just how intense he was. Like,
Wow.
he took everything so serious, but then again, like, it was so fun to be around, like pushing him and stuff. And I got to a level where I was riding a dirt bike good and like just riding with those guys, getting better and better. And I just remember it was like cool to get compliments from Nicky, like, hey, you're riding good. Like, he would not pull off that turn track till he like upped my lap time. And I just remember one time we were at Milestone riding, he had such bad problems with his wrist and everything. And so he didn't do the jumps or do the big tracks or anything. And he wanted me to come ride the kids track where I had been riding the vet track with Raj the whole time. And I went over there and did like 2 laps on the kids track with him. And I was like, I was on a 450 and I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Where like he had been hammering laps forever on that thing. And he came in, he's like, oh, you're too good for that track, or you think you're going to get better, like, not riding this track with me? And like at that time I like was kind of freaking out because I was like, Nicky saying that to me. But I always remember too, he made this tweet at the house. He was like on such a strict schedule, like he would get up at 6:30 in the morning, and it sounded like he had center blocks on his shoes upstairs bedroom where I'm on the couch. So it's like when he gets up, everyone else is up. But we had a good time. That family was such close knit with Earl and Rose and Kathleen, Jenny. I mean, Tommy. Like, they had family dinners every single night. Like, living with Raj, like, we would ride up to Rose's house every night for dinner, and I was like pretty much another son of theirs.
What was it? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what was it like riding with, like his talent level was so high. I mean, the stuff that he would do when he would post those videos of him on the 450, the black 450 at the turn track were insane. Like going through the right-handers and stuff. What was that like kind of riding with him? And did you ever get like, I mean, you obviously said you've beaten him a few times, but what was it like riding with somebody with that much talent?
It was insane. Like, those videos like flat track TT, like the track, was 45, 50 seconds long, but he would be 2 seconds faster. Like I never got within probably a second and a half, 2 seconds on the like flat track TT bike. It was unbelievable, like how fast he would go, and it would piss me off because I was like rode every day with him and couldn't go that fast. But like I am good on like a turn track dirt bike, and I was as fast as him there, sometimes faster, and like he wouldn't pull off the track till he was faster than me. But even at his age, he still had that hard work mentality. And I just remember he even, was in GP and was training with Alden there for a few years. And like, I think he left Alden because like he didn't feel like he was getting like training hard enough for MotoGP, working on the Alden Baker program. And like, it was the hardest working guy I've like seen. Like, to me, JD's like the only one that I've seen be that strict and like care about fitness and what you put in your body and do all that as Nicky was.
Did you guys ever talk about, why he was like that? Like, obviously now, especially kind of seeing the other side of it of like, maybe I'm not going to work quite as hard on those things or focus so much on those things, but like I'm going to focus more on my mentality and such. Did he think about any of that stuff, or was it just purely like fitness?
I think just purely fitness, but like that, like when I lived with him and rode with him, like we didn't really talk that much about like riding and fitting. Like we just did, like I just did whatever Roger and they did, like is what I did.
Yeah, sit back and shut up.
Yeah, just sit back and shut up and take the suffering and take the hurt, and I trained my butt off for years and years, and I feel like that's why I'm a little bit different now. I burnt myself out cycling and working that hard. It just took its toll on me, and but it was impressive to see like how hard he worked and like what it took to ride at that high MotoGP World Superbike level.
Did all three of the boys, were they on the same program, or were they running all completely different?
I mean, Nicky was by far the most fit of anyone, and personally, I feel like I helped Roger so much when I moved in with him. Like Roger was in decent shape, good shape, better shape than I was. But when I lived with him, like we pushed each other every day, and like I helped him. I feel like get to a better fitness level. And his last couple of years, that he was on the factory seat, it was some of his best years battling for championships. So it definitely helps having someone push you every day and like to ride and work with. Like even myself nowadays. I wouldn't say I took the Drain family under my wing, but I've been helping Tom and Sam Drain, the Australians who ride for Essence and Racing. They lived with me last year, and then this year they're fighting for dirt track, fighting for a road race championship. But it's nice, like, having young kids that's kind of what helped light my fire too. Like, it's like a whole 360. I'm almost 30, and they're 18, 19, and like now looking back at it, it's crazy to think that's the age I was at when Roger started helping me, and now I'm Roger's age, like kind of helping them, and it's just kind of cool to help give back a little bit. And
I would kind of align with that a little bit, like having Cody moving in into land, and I mean, dude, he wants to ride every day. Like, what are we doing? Like, and it's so funny, man. Like, he's kind of lit it for me, and like now I'm like, hey, we were going to the moto track today. Like, like whatever, just kind of having that energy of that, wanting to do it like we had it when we were kids. It's helped me quite a bit, and it's quite funny because, I've been dragging him on these bicycle rides, these mountain bike rides, and dude, every single day, without fail, every single day, he tries to sprint me for the sign. Every single day, dude. It's so funny, man. Like,
has he got you yet?
He got me on the last one. I pulled out. He brought it. He had the pressure to rise guy fed there, and I'm like, there's no. I beat him 3 days in a row, and I was talking so much shit. I had the We Are the Champions playing and all that, dude. And I'm like, there's no way he's beat me on film, and fuck, dude, he beat me on the film.
I think that's the same like kids that race, but then like I've been looking at it more now, like racers that have kids, like they're doing so good, and like I just think it's a new motivation. Like, young, like having kids, I feel like motivates, obviously you're a parent, but like it motivates them because like they're looking up to you. Like I feel like Sam and Tom are, I wouldn't say necessarily looking up to me, but I'm kind of like their guidance a little bit.
I think it also gives you just a different perspective on like, it's not just all about you. And like as soon as you can start focusing on something else other than just you all the time, everything gets a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah,
it just feels a lot bigger.
That's the main reason. Like I'm more happy in my life now and enjoy going to the races more. Like I was so selfish with my time, my life for that many years, and now I know that racing's not, I mean, there's so many, like, it's such a small part of, like, the world we live in, but it's our lives.
It's our whole
but
world.
there's so much more to life than that.
Yeah. I think that's probably the saddest thing for Nicky, just having him pass away early, just that he never actually got to experience life after racing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I think he was going to be done that year or the year after. Like, they had already talked about all that stuff, and I think he would have been a great dad, and like he loved kids. That like Tommy's kids playing with him. Like it was always so fun going up there every day. So, yeah, that was a rough time, and then Earl passing away, like it definitely kind of broke up the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's life.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something that I think also as like racers, you're so used to just narrow-minded that you don't deal with that stuff usually.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I can only imagine when it hits, especially at home, because it's like you live there. It's not like they're distant, right? It's like
for sure.
We drove by their house. Like it's a part of your everyday life. So it's got to be tough. What do you see? I know you said UPS is on the horizon for you after retirement from racing, but what do you see seriously? Like, I know you own your house, like you've set yourself up pretty well. Owensboro's a nice place to live and so on. What's what's your future look like? Like kids? I know you're getting married soon.
Yeah, I mean, I really want kids. I mean, I think it'd be so cool. Just because my friends have kids, and then Blair's friends. Like not many people. Like a lot of people know Blair, but a lot of people don't know Blair. Like, and she's an elementary school teacher, and she kicks ass every day at her job and deals with kids. And we're getting to the age where we want to have children, and I just think it'd be so cool to have children out on our property. But as far as work, like I'm in such a good spot now racing. Like I want to race as long as I can, and I feel like I'm making decent money now and enjoying racing, and just keep going on with that as long as I can. But I don't have a plan after racing. Like that's still one thing that like kind of does eat me up. It's like what I want to do, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I mean, I would love to drive for UPS. I always wanted to be a pilot growing up, and if I didn't race, but pilot, you got to move somewhere to go be a pilot, go to school and all that stuff. But I'm kind of a tight ass, so I'm good with my money, and I have set myself up like good, with investments and my land and all that stuff.
Do you invest in like stocks and that kind of stuff?
Nah, I did, but
lost it all?
No.
Yeah, man, it's like I don't care to talk about it. I didn't know what I was doing at all, and
You had the Trump coin?
no, I didn't.
You got that?
I got a
Haktua coin. Or what?
I got a little Doge coin right now.
Doge. I just sold all my Doge. Didn't do me any good. My dad every day he's like, dude,
Doge to the moon.
If Doge hits, dude, I'm quitting the dealership. Yeah. I'm like, okay, Dwayne, keep on dreaming, buddy.
Money.
No, but stocks, like I don't know, for some dumb reason I thought I was gonna like be my own broker. I didn't know anything about stock market at all, but I invested like I put 10 grand into it at first, and then this one thing that I invested into made it up like to $70,000 in like 2 days, and I was like, dude, this thing's like it's going to the moon. I'm gonna be like I thought it was gonna be good. Looked, and 2 hours later, tanked it, lost all of it, and it was like a $65,000 swing, and I was just sick to my stomach. And then after that, like I was back to my $10,000, and I just pulled out. And I don't play the stock market right now, but I don't know. There's money in it for sure. Yeah,
my dad was talking about that.
Oh, it was sickening. Yeah,
my dad did Celsius, the energy drink. He got in that really early, and I guess. At one point he was up he's up like 60 grand on it. He's up a lot.
Yeah.
But at one point he was up like a lot.
Yeah.
And he didn't sell.
Dude.
And they had like some bad press or some chemicals or something that were in it or some shit that came out about it. And
I hate that game.
It dropped back down. He's still up a lot, but he could have been up. He could have cashed out and done pretty well.
And too, in like investing and all that, like it does interest me and stuff like that. And
you have any
sometimes,
rentals?
No, I don't have any rentals, but
because you got the slumlord over there.
Who's that, JD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to get into it, but then again, like sometimes I think I don't care like how much money you have saved up. You could die tomorrow, or it's like, I mean, Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's
because,
twofold.
Yeah, it's however you want to live your life. You know, I could pass away in 20 years. I could pass away in 50 years, and it's like it would suck to have that much money just sitting in the bank and miss out on experiences that I wish I would have took at our age.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. I think the only thing that I do worry about is how that changes when you have kids, because you know that mindset's changing. It's gonna be all about like, gotta save for college. I gotta want to have badass bikes for my kid if that's your goal or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
Are you gonna have your kids race?
I've thought about it for sure, but I've thought about it for sure, but it's one of those things like I don't want to pressure my kid to do it, or just do, like everyone says the same thing, like do what your kids enjoy. But
golf,
I think it's set me up good in my life, and I've enjoyed it, and I feel like why not,
Do you think that the lay of the land, though, where you are currently, and if you look at kids coming through, do you think there is the opportunities that we had? Like, I feel like we missed the boat pretty big. I feel like we're all doing okay, but we missed the boat from millions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, millions of dollars.
And now I look at kids coming through, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know where it is. Like it's changed.
100%. A few years ago, I used to be the most negative person as far as racing, to do, because I just remember that there was a interview I did for American Motorcycle Association a few years ago, and they were like, what guidance would you tell kids? And like at that time I was just like in a negative mindset. I was like, have a damn backup plan, because racing was like so bad there. You couldn't make any money, and you just spent so much money, and like there's nothing in return, and just the stress and everything is so big for racing. And I mean, unless you have rich parents and investors and stuff behind you, to me it wasn't worth it. And like even nowadays, you see so many kids' parents paying for spots. Like that was another thing growing up. Earl always told us, he said, once you start paying, you'll never stop paying. So
yep.
I've been fortunate and lucky enough to never pay for a ride, but like nowadays I feel like parents are going to have to pay a small fee to get their kids on the team and to show that they have the talent or something, but it's not worth it if you don't have the right path, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think another thing that you like James have been pretty flexible on just taking opportunities, which is a huge part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect bike or whatever. It's just saying yes. Just say yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even to get me into this Bagger and Hooligan chaos that I'm in now, like I didn't have anything at the end of 22 M4 Superbike season. In 23, I was going into the season with no ride at all. This was mid-January, February or so, and I was like, shit, I'm going to miss out on another season. And I was messaging Jesse Janis, actually, about Michael Barnes' backer ride, and this is how this all happened. And I drove to Louisville to the MVP show, or I think that's what it's called. It's like a Harley-Davidson drag specialties, all that like show, and met with Hoban Brothers and Dark Horse Crankworks guy John Dahmer, and I just committed to 3 races. Like I'd had nothing, committed to 3 races, and then they joined forces with Saddleman, and it all just worked out. It's pretty crazy how it works out. And the same with Supersport. Like I wasn't riding a sport bike that season, and unfortunately Corey Ventura got hurt for Disrupt, and that opened the door for sport bike. And ever since 23, like I've had good motivation, and I've been fortunate to land back on good bikes where I can prove my talent and get good results.
I feel like that's a just saying yes, but also like, just having in the back of your head that things do come along if you put yourself in the position, and, you don't get too down on it, kind of like if you get real negative and you're like, fuck, I got nothing to go race with, and I'm just going to sit at home and, not pick up the phone or not talk to anybody. Yeah, nothing's going to happen.
That was the position I was in. Like in 2020, I didn't have a spot, and like I didn't pick up the phone. Like I probably could have rode something, but I was in the mentality at that time. I was like, no, I'm not doing anything. But
they
now,
don't call me, I don't want it.
Yeah, but now like I'm picking up the phone, and if someone calls you, answer the phone and take the ride. Like you never know when you'll have another opportunity.
I'm a big believer in it. I mean, my life changed over 14 months. Like I was absolutely, I mean, I've told the story before, but I was completely broke, so depressed. This guy, Kieran Clark, literally saved me. And it was literally the idea of starting a team with Corey was enough to pull me, just pull me out just because every day I was working on where could I find $100? Where could I find 500, 1,000? How could we pay for tires? And we were both in a difficult spot, I would say, in racing. And, that year is literally, we had some really good fun. We really struggled on the racetrack, and it was a good time. But that literally just was the big enough spark that really kind of pulled me out of that depression and all that.
It's huge, yeah. And like I said, I mean, I've been in some dark spots in racing just because, I was at the pinnacle, lost my spots, and feel like I got done dirty a couple times, but now it's like I know the positions, and I'll say yes to ride pretty much anything, and I love the teams that I'm on, and I feel like that's why I'm riding at a good level. I'm happy with the teams I'm on. They treat me good. I get along with them good, and for me that's another big thing. Like if you're not happy at the races or with the right people, like it's not worth it. Like it's just not worth going to the races to hate being there and put yourself in that much pressure to get results.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think that you're risking your body, your mind, all that stuff for what? You got to be around people that want the best for you and you enjoy being around. Because otherwise, it's like, you're not, like I said before, you're not getting paid enough to put all that stuff aside.
It's not like the All-Star race where you're going for $1 million.
Yeah, or you're on a huge salary where it's like I can put up with shitty people and shitty attitudes.
Yeah, but dude, even with having any sort of, some of my biggest financial years have been the worst years of my life. Like the money was good, but the rides weren't great, and like just dealing with that. Every time I come out of it, I've done it twice now that I've like rode for money versus the opportunity, and by the end of it, I'm like, you could have all this fucking money back if I could just win again.
Yeah,
like it's just not. I mean, it set me up, but like it's just mentally such a drain.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever? I mean, you've said, from what it sounds like Gerloff was one of your biggest rivals growing up. Have you ever had any other big rivals, like, or anybody that you were like, man, I just?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not really. Like, I mean, we all want to beat each other, but it's not like I'm at the track like I'm gonna be so pissed if I lose to him. But like that's how it was for Gerloff. Like I remember we were nationals, like. We were kids, but we hated losing to each other. And pro, like, I mean, I've battled people for championships and stuff like that, but after the race, tell each other good job, but I haven't been like, oh, I'm so pissed I lost. I mean, I'm pissed when I lose every time now, but it's like not just to that certain guy.
Were you pissed in 2018?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like beginning of the pod. I mean, that's like... hate's a strong word, but I feel like I hated James for like 2 years after that. Like I didn't know James. Like Supersport, we knew each other, but Daytona flat track like that year meant so much to me. Or TT meant so much to me because we built that Suzuki with the help of Travis Smith. It was a bone stock Suzuki in a parking lot and showed up in a van, and like flat track was still like, it wasn't huge, but there was people with good rods and stuff like that. And I just remember someone saying, like, oh, he's not a dirt tracker, or, like, he wasn't going to do something.
You?
Yeah, talking about me before the TT. And I qualified, I think, top 5 or top 10 or whatever it was. Went out, won my heat race, smoked him in the heat race, smoked him in the semi, set on pole for the main event, and then we're Spoley. Bowling balls me. But
Unbelievable.
Bowling balls me. And that's, like, I do get really angry. Like I'm the laid back, nice guy, but like sometimes I just see red and get so pissed off. And I just remember like I was just so mad that he took me out, and then more so that the AMA like put me on the back row because I was like, I was leading the damn race. Like, I didn't like I hit the ground because of someone else. I was like, let me back on the front row. But I told the story to James earlier. It's like we pulled up to the back row and like. Dude, I was, like, so angry. Like, when I see red, I just, like, can't get out of that, like, funk. And I looked at him, and, like, I remember, like, he looked at me like he was terrified because I was so pissed. And I said, if you're in front of me going into turn 1, I'm fucking cleaning you out as hard as you've been cleaned out before. And like I was just dead serious, and like I've had moments like that, you know. I've had like not rivalries, but I've had moments on the track where people weren't happy with me and I wasn't happy with them, but luckily never gotten a fight at the track.
It's kind of crazy because I didn't really think it was like, I mean, at the end of the day, like I didn't think it was that. I mean, it was a big deal, right? But after
Looking back now,
but afterwards, it like there was like the wedge, and then I don't. Did you ever know that like when I put on there on one of the comments I put like instead of Jake the Snake, you're like Jake the Brake, and dude, it fucking. I think that's what Foley.
That's what Foley did it in, yeah. Because like looking back, it's like we were racing for what a couple I don't know, a couple grand, $1,000, $200, whatever it was. Like it was nothing. But when he put that post on Instagram, that's what like lit it up. I'm like, dude, like screw this guy, like Jake the Brake instead of Jake the Snake. And then it was funny, full circle, 2019, we line up. They were doing rider intros for the main events, and like we hadn't said a word to each other since Daytona the year before. We're like 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th or whatever, parked right beside each other for the main event introductions, and my crew chief at the time, Ben Fox, helped James in BSB, and it was just funny. Like at that point, it was all good to go, and it was just kind of crazy how the world works.
Dude, it was funny. I was just, yeah, I think it's funny.
I remember for a few years after, like, I don't think Jake likes me too much.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you put a riff in like that, and then I went away and raced in England, and then that, and you just kind of never know. And like even now, like we've always been fine on track, and I mean, I don't think we've ever raced each other ever dirty, like ever. You know, I think that's the only time we've ever been laying on the ground together. But I think, you know, racing against each other in 12, right, and then 13 was like hard, and I was just that. So like I don't, and it was always for me. I think some of like the beginning of it was just the OWB. Like it was like you had the OWB, and we were like cool skunk and dirt track. So like it started so young, and then it's like I think we're so old now. Like just nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, I think the older you get, though, like I wouldn't say the less you care, but you know, I mean, it's racing. Shit happens, and people. I mean, you're not going to be friends with everyone at the track. I mean, we're here trying to make a living, and I don't really hold any grudges with anyone. And I know there's going to be. I mean, I might get cleaned out now. I might accidentally clean someone out. It shit happens.
Yeah. No, I think so. But
well, Jake, I think it's getting dark, so we're running out of daylight here.
Sun's setting
behind us. What you know what's coming next, right? Obviously.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's some people out there that say you like to eat, so
you gotta feed that belly.
We didn't even talk about.
Yeah, we're not gonna get.
We're not
into
okay.
It.
All right.
It's too deep. Open up an old can of worms.
No, I would like to.
You want it?
No, not necessarily the Greg White comment. just my size in general. Like I touched on a little bit earlier. It does like that's one thing that pisses me off so bad nowadays. Like if you don't have anything to say about like my talent or how I ride or anything good about me, like keep my name out of your mouth. Like I don't care that I'm 205 pounds, 6'4". Like that's probably the average. I don't know what the average
probably
size.
Below the healthy weight for
that
size.
I mean, I'm the average size person, and like I'll eat and drink and do what I want now. And like if I'm still winning races and kicking kids' ass that are 150 pounds, like I don't care. But for sure, it's being tall and like we are. I mean, has its advantages and disadvantages, but it's just something that we have to deal with. Yeah.
No, for sure.
People always need something to talk about, though.
Yeah, for sure. All. But like, I just think that like it fires me up and. It actually helps me on track sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't even know what happened. I just think it's funny. I didn't even know there was a thing. I mean, I've heard it.
I made it beef for sure. Yeah, I don't know if there was really beef there, but I mean, I will talk about it a little bit just because it was a big deal, and I mean, Greg's the broadcaster, and it was just a thing that, like I said, if every broadcast was about my size, my weight, or something, and then it was just a heat of the moment deal. It was the hottest race of the year. It was like 110 degrees or whatever. And I just battled Herfoss head to head for the Hooligan race. Ran over to the garage, changed leathers, hopped on the SuperSport bike, kicked everybody's ass at the hottest race of the year. So I mean, I went back-to-back races, and the odds for that race came out that morning, and like my odds were terrible. Or I don't even know if I don't think they had me listed in the top 5, and we were coming off Mid-Ohio where I'd put the thing on the box or like on the front row and had good rides, and I just let my emotions out on the podium and said what I wanted to say and left it at that. But
was something said on the broadcast?
yeah, I mean,
No, I think it's like a regular thing, right? It was just kind of like
it's just a
you
regular,
became that character. Like
Yeah.
you're the big guy that's a little too big to be racing
Yeah.
Supersport.
that's the thing. It was I became that character, and like it was maybe one of those things like he didn't think that I cared about racing, and some people maybe think that I don't care about racing or take it as serious, which in reality I love racing and take it super serious. It's just that I'm not as skinny as I used to be, but I don't think that's a big problem. But it had boiled over, and
Did you swear on the podium? Like, did you
No,
swear
I
on the
don't- I
broadcast?
don't
I
think
guess we gotta clip that in.
We gotta clip it in.
I don't think I sweared, but I was like, come get you some or something.
No, you didn't. You were gonna beef down with G White?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, then he ripped off his leather zipper and everything. It's starting to rain, Jimmy. We got to wrap it
All right,
up
let's
here.
wrap it.
What death row you may or may not have happened to get into a brawl with a certain commentator.
That's the death row.
At the Elkhart Lake PD had to come pick you up from what's the bar downtown over there?
Seepkins.
So they pick you
I'll
up
be
from
there on Sunday
Seepkins.
night.
Yeah.
You and Slick. What are you eating? What's the meal?
I
Give me the whole
thought about this.
rundown.
Yeah, the whole rundown. Blair and I and our family loved going down to Destin, Florida on fall break, and that is some of the best food I've had in my life. It's a mahi with like pecans on it. It's like a crusted fish, and for me, I know it probably sounds healthy. But it's like the best food melting in your mouth.
He hasn't talked as passionately about bikes the whole time.
It's the best food I've ever had, and that'd be my last meal. Go there to Destin, or I'd be in prison, but bring me that and tallest beer you can find. And
What kind of beer? What are you drinking these days?
Come on, man. You got the hat.
I mean, Busch Light for sure. Yeah, big
Hell
old
yeah.
tall Busch Light.
Oh yeah,
Hell
brother.
yeah, brother.
Oh yeah.
What about for dessert? You said you're a sweets
no,
guy.
I'm a huge sweets guy. That's why I weigh 200 pounds now. I eat dessert almost
Nothing
every
to do with
night.
the bushies. That's
Yeah, bushies and ice cream. So probably some chocolate cake with vanilla ice cream on top.
all. All right.
Wow. All right, so you got Destin crusted pecan mahi. You got a tall Bush Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a big meal. I'm going out with my stomach hurting, boys.
and your lactose intolerant.
I thought you were gonna say moonlight for sure. but-
I like barbecue, but it's not my favorite.
all right,
Dude, I
all right.
love it. Well, honestly, Jake, this has been one of the funnest podcasts. And for me, learning a little bit more about you, I've raced against you. I've known you my whole career, and I didn't know half of it. It's been awesome. Hopefully you have an amazing year. And, dude, hopefully we can continue this vibe.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, no, been a lot of fun. I always have a lot of fun with you. All the chicks are getting along good, so that helps things out. For
Yeah.
the boys, we get to have a little more boys time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, I hope it opened up, some ears and insights kind of to what my life was about to this point, and hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks for coming on, and we got another one coming up soon too. So stay tuned, boys.
BK gonna be working hard. Woo, 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 woo.
We got to go make some more food. Hopefully, we don't get food poisoning.
Oh, dude, we just had to look. We just had to look.
From who? The ladies?
Now Blair just gave us the eyes. Like, yo, wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
There it
All
is,
right.
too. All right, see you.
Thanks, boys.
Bye.